All right. It says we are live. So, good evening and welcome to this week's version of the Classic Wrestling Chat. Or, again, like I said last week, should we even be calling it Classic Wrestling at this point? Because we talk about some of the modern stuff too, right? What do you think, Kingpin? Should we change the name of the show?
I think classic wrestling is still a pretty good name because that's really the base of the show, and that's what everything is based against anyway. You know, every basketball player forever is going to be compared to Michael Jordan first. Now, I know you got Kobe and LeBron, but it's always going to be Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
So every wrestler is going to be based off of Ric Flair. Every tag team is going to be based off of the Road Warriors or the Rock and Roll Express, or you know what I mean? Like
Oh,
they're
yeah.
living up to that bar, and if they don't, then they didn't make it. If that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Makes perfect sense. I'm just throwing something out there to talk about.
Well, I mean, Caliber Corner doesn't talk about calibers every show, so you don't exactly have to talk about just classic wrestling every show.
Yeah, I know. But, speaking of that, I don't know if you've caught anything that's been going on with the new stuff. You usually just know about the old stuff, right? You don't know about the newer stuff.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Well, you remember last week when we were talking about what happened with John Moxley and him going over and appearing on New Japan's U.S. broadcast?
Yeah, the merger talks, the stuff you were
Oh
kind of
yeah,
into.
there's been a big development this week on that front.
Let's have it.
So the main event on Dynamite, AEW Dynamite this week on Wednesday night was Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers, you know, Anderson and Gallows, versus Moxley, Pac, aka Adrian Neville for those who may know him from WWF or WWE, and Phoenix, aka Ray Phoenix.
So this is a 3-on-3 tag team match.
Right. The match ends. The Good Brothers and Omega win.
Now
And
all these people are a part of Dynamite, not the other spot.
yeah, these are all AEW people. Well,
Okay,
no, the Good Brothers are Impact. They're from Impact.
but it's the same company.
Well, Impact and AEW are not the same company.
So who so far is involved in the merger? Anybody?
Officially, not
Yeah.
yet.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. Is all the guys that are wrestling in this tag team match? It's normal to see them wrestling together on the same
No,
television show.
no, it's not. That's the thing. The
Okay,
Good
okay.
Brothers
I'm just
are
trying to
signed to
establish
Impact.
it.
They're not technically signed to AEW, so they shouldn't be there. Okay.
That's what I'm getting at. Okay, okay. Continue.
All right. So them and Omega win. They start doing the beatdown on one person. Lance Archer comes running out for whatever reason. This one I haven't figured out yet. So he clears the ring, right? And the only ones that are left in the ring are Moxley and Omega. Moxley is pissed at Omega because Omega cheated to win the AEW title from him. That's those two are set up for a few or engaged in a major feud along with what everything else is going on outside of that. Next, it's so you got Moxley is standing over Omega because at that point Omega's been knocked down. Moxley's getting ready to beat the crap out of him, right? You have a guy come running in behind Moxley from the crowd area wearing, the mask, the COVID mask, shall we say, and a hoodie. He starts beating the crap out of Moxley and hits the go to sleep. Now, there are two guys in professional wrestling that are known for using the go to sleep. One is CM Punk, which people have been speculating on whether he was going to go to AEW or what. The other is a guy by the name of Kenta, who people may know as Hideo Itami from his time in NXT. So after the go to sleep is he takes the mask off and the hoodie, and it is Kenta, and he's wearing his actual Bullet Club shirt because he is a member of New Japan's Bullet Club. We have a New Japan signed superstar standing in the middle of the AEW ring.
Wearing a New Japan t-shirt.
Yes, wearing a New Japan Bullet Club t-shirt. And it gets better. After they go off air, they have a post show on YouTube. AEW does. They have the Dynamite post show that they do. As part of the post show, you see Kenny Omega and Don Callis, who's executive vice president of Impact, but is acting as Kenny Omega's manager in AEW at the same time. Backstage, trying to catch up to Kenta and talking to Kenta, and Kenta doesn't want anything to do with him. And finally, they're like, something, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Kenta and Don Callis says, well, why don't you two do a tag team next week against Moxley and Archer? And when Kenta at that point stops, turns around and walks back to them, and that's where it cuts. It was announced yesterday. The main event on Dynamite this week coming up is going to be a Falls Count Anywhere, no holds barred tag team match of Kenny Omega and Kenta versus Lance Archer and Jon Moxley. This will be the first time that an actual, other than Jericho and Moxley anyway, New Japan Pro Wrestling signed star has set foot in an AEW ring in a wrestling match.
Quick side question. Falls Anywhere, no holds barred match. What if you're my tag team partner and you're in the ring tagged in wrestling and I run around?
Yeah, in that match, there's not going to be tags.
Well, say it's the beginning, the bell's about to ring and you're the first wrestler in. So you're wrestling. I jump off the ring, go around to the other side, grab the dude off the turnbuckle and pin him outside. That we win.
Yeah, it's a tornado rules match. All four guys are legal at the same time.
Okay, that's what I forgot what they called it, where everybody can just come in whenever they want.
Yeah, it's a tornado. It's under tornado rules whenever you have that stipulation.
Okay, now back to the merger. So, is this a good thing or a bad thing? I asked you the same question last week. Is this going to be good or is this going to be bad?
If it's done right, this is going to be very good for the business. Because right now, the only real worldwide reach that you have as far as the promotion is concerned is WWE. They're the only ones right now that have the worldwide reach. If you're getting New Japan, and let's not forget AAA, because Rey Fenix is a AAA guy. Forgot about that part. Kenny Omega is the AAA world champion essentially right now, too, in addition to being the AEW champion. And then you got New Japan, them, Impact, and possibly the NW. And yeah, let's not forget the NWA, because you got the NWA women's champion constantly wrestling on Dynamite. So if you get all of those together under one umbrella, working together, we're finally going to see, for the first time since WCW went out of business, a true competitor for the WWE at this point.
So in other words, the little guys are going to stand up and all fight against the big guy who's been hogging all the space.
Yeah, and they're going to be doing it as a group. Basically, that's what you got. You got the big bully of the WWE, shall we say? Just to come up with a image people can get, and all the kids that they've been bullying, grouping together to beat the crap out of the bully.
Well, I mean, none of these other wrestling have American television channels. Like, can I flip through my cable and see any of this wrestling except for the WWE?
AEW has a weekly show Wednesday nights on TNT Network.
Okay.
Impact is on Access TV, which doesn't get carried to every home. TNT is every cable system, just like, if not all of them, carry TNT. Not all of them carry Access. Access, for example, is not on Comcast. If you have Comcast, you're not getting Access. You're not getting Impact. And New Japan is going to be going back to being on Access as well. Your best bet if you want to watch New Japan is to sign up for their streaming service like we've talked about before. But they're going to be going back to Access. But again, that's not going to have nationwide coverage, because there's different cable companies that don't carry it. Some do, some don't. Dish Network, if you have Dish Network, they carry access. They're the biggest carrier that has access, as far as I can remember.
Yeah, but you have to pay more for it. If you got this network, do you have to pay more for this access thing?
No, it's just like having a regular cable channel.
All right, okay.
The thing with the access with New Japan, if they're going to do it the way they have been doing it, they're going to show you something that happened months ago. Whereas if you have the streaming service, you get everything as it's happening on New Japan.
Well, the thing, if they've got that many different organizations together, then they have a vast amount of different varieties of talent. And if they've got the little guy thing going for them, it sounds like they've got a lot of good things going for them to knock, a nice little black eye on the WWE.
Yeah.
Plus, I think people want to get people. We talked about it the other day. If you go back to Road Warriors, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes wrestling, I think a whole lot of fans will come back for the sports entertainment version.
Yeah, you're basically
the soap opera, which turned the WWE ruined wrestling. That's just how it is.
Basically, you're look with what they're doing. You're looking at the return to the territory days, but with bigger territories than what there were back then. Like back then, in the 80s and beforehand, when you still had the territory days, you would have like 20, 30 territories. Now they're doing the territory system where you're going to have 5 big territories under the one umbrella kind of thing.
Yeah, but with the way travel is these days, the way recovery time, they don't have to have your marquee wrestler driving in the back of a pickup truck, sleeping in a sleeping bag from one city to the next. They can put on one show a week and still satisfy everything. They don't have to get on the nasty grind like they used to have to do.
Right, yeah.
Like you can have, somebody win Ric Flair win the championship 57 times and only 10 matches anybody even knows about.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about it before. WWE has him recognized as being a 16-time world champion. And when Ellis and I were sat and we actually counted what we could remember, we were up to like almost 30 times that he held a world title. So, yeah, there's definitely some discrepancy there because there's championship reigns that aren't recognized and whatnot from back in the territory days because of what you just said. The champion would go into a territory like Ric Flair. You go, say, St. Louis, lose the belt one day, win it back the next. And in between there, you would have a pre-tape show airing on Georgia TV, on Superstation or wherever, where Flair would appear that night after the match that he had lost took place and still have the championship belt, even though he technically at that point wasn't the world champion if you pay attention to what was going on in St. Louis. So it was definitely a crazy time when it came to that kind of thing.
So is the talk old school, or are they soap operaed like the WWE? Like, are they going to go back to dudes spitting and talking about kicking each other's butts, or are they going to go back to talking about Triple H wearing a suit and drinking champagne and fighting with the ball? Like, what kind of banter, I guess, are they going to have? Do they have over there now?
You get a mix of both, depending on what one you're talking about. Like, if you look at New Japan is big in Japan, and they do more of a sports presentation kind of thing. Like, you'll have the matches, and most of their promo work is done backstage, where they have like a press area, where they even have like a wall where it's got like different logos from sponsors and everything that are sponsoring the show and all that kind of stuff. And they'll even take questions at times from actual Japanese newspaper and TV reporters that are there. That's how big New Japan is. That New Japan actually gets coverage in their mainstream media over there. It's a totally different culture when it comes to the wrestling over there than what you see here. And so they got the more sports presentation. AEW, you get a sports presentation, like when the wrestlers come out, they'll have their win-loss record on there when their name appears on the screen and everything. But you'll get some in-ring promos where there usually is an interview with Tony Schiavone doing the interview and stuff like that. And then you might get a big net backstage where somebody's arguing with somebody or something like that. But it's a set up what's happening. Like right now, they're doing a storyline. Is Jericho's inner circle going to break up or not? So you had something going on with that on Wednesday. But it's still not as soap opera-y as what you would see in WWE. It's still more around what's actually happening business-wise. You know what I mean? So it's different. It's definitely different than the WWE stuff.
Well, you got to have the trash talk, and you got to have the build up for the match, and I'm gonna put him in a headlock until he says I'll quit, all that kind of stuff. But I don't want to watch Days of Our Lives when there's 300-pound men talking about hitting each other in the head with chairs.
Yeah, to be honest with you, WWE anymore, especially on SmackDown and NXT, are not adhering to that old pattern anymore either.
I mean, I guess somebody paid attention when they were like, "Hey, where'd all our audience go?"
Yeah. Well, you got one of the things is you got Vince backing off more. He wasn't at the Royal Rumble. He hasn't been at SmackDown, and he's been missing like every other Raw. And he has nothing to do with NXT. He does nothing with NXT at all. NXT is solely Triple H's baby. And the guy that's been running SmackDown lately is Triple H. And SmackDown is starting to get more of that same vibe as what he's been doing in NXT, which is interesting.
The whole Vince McMahon getting into the ring and firing people and getting body slammed had its place. But I think just like anything else, when you get a huge hit, you take to the well too many times. I think they could still be successful with it if they'd only did it in little tiny spurts. But making like every episode about it for years upon end, now you could never go back to that.
Yeah, the best part is the whole Vince McMahon being the bad guy owner of the company was a fluke. That all came about because of the Montreal screw job. When Bret Hart spit in his face and everything, Vince got so much heat that they ran with that as him being a character now. Before that, he was not a character on screen. He was at most the play-by-play guy. If you remember back in the 80s and early 90s, Vince McMahon was on the commentary desk.
Yeah,
So I mean that's where the character of Mr. McMahon came about, was after the Montreal screw job. With as much heat and boos and stuff that he got from the fans and everything, that's where that came from. That's where that was the origin of that character. And at the time, they needed something because they were getting their asses kicked by WCW in the NWO storyline. That just fell into their laps and they ran with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they. I hate to say it's not salvageable, but it might not be salvageable. I think they might have, what do they call it, jumped the shark.
No, they can still salvage it. I mean, if you look at Impact's history, when they went from being owned by Jeff Jarrett's dad to being to where they then started doing all the bad TNA era in the mid 2000s to fairly recent, and they've recovered fairly well. I mean, they're putting on some good. They got a good product over there now compared to what they were doing, where you had they went to Shark Boy. By the way, Shark Boy was a masked wrestler who wore a fish type mask. We talked about, and his whole family when they went to his house to interview him was wearing that style mask. I mean, TNA was bad at one point. Impact were, which is the same company, were really bad at one point, but they've been able to recover. So, if small little Impact can do that, WWE can do it, and Triple H is doing his darndest to try.
It's kind of like the sideshow becoming the sideshow. You know, when you get known for being the bearded lady, the only thing you can ever be again is the bearded lady. Or you can shave it and come up with some type of new thing. And that's what they never did, is they just stuck with what worked. And then it just ran it into the ground. Like, same thing with the Vince McMahon wrestling. It worked, and then they drove it into the ground.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about that one. I mean, up until fairly recent, Vince was still at times doing the evil Vince McMahon character.
But you mentioned the other night, even though it's played for a very, I mean, Undertaker was super popular forever, but the whole dead man thing that was invincible, for me, that wore off pretty quick because I was like, well, come on. I mean, how is this guy going to win 1,000,000 matches?
Yeah, I mean, the weird thing about The Undertaker, as popular as he was and how unbeatable he was supposed to be, he's only held the world championship 2 or 3 times. You would think that, with his, or the aura, I guess you could say, that surrounded his gimmick, that he would have held the title more than that, but he hasn't. And not for real long periods of time either.
Well, that's why, and I guess you got to find out the balance, because you can't have Hulk Hogan, the one guy that the whole thing, the world title's built around everything. But you also can't have 65 different world titles either. Having a nice mix of world titles and a nice mix of superstars, and then co-stars or backup artists or whatever you want to call them. I mean, it's going to be tough, man. Especially today with contracts, everybody wants the best contract.
Yeah, the thing with Undertaker is he was a company guy, so I mean, and he was a locker room leader. If there was a problem, the wrestlers went to the Undertaker, and the Undertaker got it taken care of. You know what I mean? He was the guy everybody went to. That's transitioning from him, since he's nowhere near around as much as anywhere else. That's transitioning now to Roman Reigns. If you listen to some of the guys in WWE, if they have a problem with something, they need taken to Vince or something, they go to Roman, and he goes and takes care of the problem now. So I thought, and if he's not around, they go to Seth Rollins. So it's interesting, the two guys that are now basically taking over what was the Undertaker's role backstage.
Well, plus they're not. I'm not saying that there's not, but there's not as many raging alcoholics, drug addicts, and guys who love spending all their money on cocaine and prostitutes anymore either. Getting in fights in bars and stuff. Well, the guys seem to be more concerned about protecting their brand. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know. There's some guys that have done some really stupid things lately.
Well, yeah, sure. There's still superstars. They're rock stars. Of course they're going to be all drugged up, chasing women and all that, but they're doing a whole lot better job of hiding it, especially in instant video, the instant video age.
Yeah, they just fired a guy. What's his name? Lars Sullivan, because oh boy, did he get hit do some stupid shit. I don't know what other word to put, but yeah. Some of it's from what some of the things that he did was from years ago, but then he doubled down on it at one point and he's got himself in all kinds of trouble. And he ended up being was finally fired quietly without anybody knowing it a month ago. One of the things he did was homophobic, in quotation marks, slurs on a bodybuilding site that he was a member of and stuff when he was into that kind of thing. Well, at the same time, he was doing gay porno. Figure that one out.
Yeah. A corrupt liar. Just, I mean, he should have been a politician instead.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, that's just one of the things that guy's done that got himself fired. So, I mean, most recently, sending inappropriate photographs to a yoga instructor. Not showing up for work when he's supposed to, and there's a whole list of reasons why this guy got fired. But yeah, there still are people that do stupid things in wrestling and get themselves in trouble.
Well, I'm terribly arrogant and highly conceited, and I can't fathom how somebody could be so arrogant and conceited that they would send graphic pictures to people that aren't like their girlfriend or their husband or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, hey, I've seen this girl on the internet, and I figured I'd send her a picture of my junk.
Well, no, he knew the woman. It's just she wasn't interested in him, and he started sending her pictures to him.
Well, yeah, okay. I'm waving hi to the lady across the street with all three hands.
Yeah.
Because she thinks that's sexy or something. Like, I can't understand how stupid people can be.
Yeah, I don't get it. But he had gotten hurt, and he went to this woman to help him get over the injury, and I guess he was starting to feel feelings for her, and she didn't reciprocate. Next thing she knows, she checks her phone, and he's sending her pictures that she didn't want. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, it doesn't make sense where people get the idea that, well, she don't like me, but maybe if I send her this picture, that'll change her mind. No, that's just called creepy, and you're going to get your ass thrown in jail. Oh, man. But yeah, there are some dumb people out there that do those kind of things. Man, we have diverged from topic.
So, what do you think the biggest three things are going to be that comes out of this merger?
You're going to have some interesting matches, for one thing. You're going to have people like Kazuchika Okada, who is probably the biggest star right now in New Japan, going against somebody like Moose from Impact, who is becoming their biggest star. I mean, he's getting pushed to the moon right now. He's a big black dude who's super athletic. And I don't mean big like Dusty Rhodes big. I mean, he's just big. You know what I mean? Tall, muscular kind of guy. And he is super agile at the same time. He moves around that ring like a cruiserweight.
Well, how are they going to fit? I mean, you figure they've had to be in negotiations for months with this kind of stuff, because how do you have like your top Japanese wrestler go against your top, we'll just say American wrestler? One of those guys, are they going to have a draw? Are they going to have a just double disqualification? What's going to have stuff? Who agreed in their contract to take the loss and play second fiddle?
Well, it's no different than the territory days. I mean, there would be guys that would go in one territory and they would lose to somebody, but then they would go back the next day and a week later and go beat them in the other territory. So that's not going to be hard to figure out. But here's the thing with Impact and New Japan. They've had a working relationship off and on for years. Okada actually did his excursion. Remember we talked about that last week, what the excursions were in
Yeah.
Impact. So there is history there already between New Japan and Impact. And Don Callis has done color commentary for New Japan in the past. So there's already often, like I said, an off and on again working relationship between those two as it is right now.
So, okay, what days a week does all this stuff come on TV? Just what
New,
what day a week would Japan come on television?
New Japan, when they were on Access the last time, they were on Friday nights.
Okay,
Impact is on Tuesdays,
okay.
and AEW is on Wednesdays.
So you don't need to do anything except for national shows. You don't have to do any of the small town stuff. You can put all national shows on.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing with New Japan. They tour over Japan every day of the week. When you're at their streaming service, you can have matches 2-3 times, sometimes 4 times a week.
Right. They got a large roster of guys that wrestle. It's not like
Right.
you're requiring the mask takeout guy to wrestle 5 times a week.
Right, and we've talked about it before on the show. There'll be a month at least where the heavyweights every year won't be wrestling, and in another month where the cruiserweights or light heavyweights won't be wrestling because they're having the tournaments. So they get a lot of rest over in Japan. They do a lot of wrestling, but they get a lot of rest time too during the course of the year. And we've been joined by the Hatfield Outlaw. Oh, damn! I'm getting my. Let me fix my dyslexia real quick, which I don't have. The Outlaw Hatfield, aka Ellis. How are you tonight, Ellis?
Bubba, I'm good. I'm good. But I do have some information that some of you folks out there might find interesting. I'm sure you've been aware that I haven't been around lately. I've had some stuff going on. I found out day before yesterday that I'm definitely going to have surgery on my back. I am in constant pain at this point. That's why I haven't really been doing the shows. I'm just hurting so bad I really can't concentrate. It's everything I can do to get through work every day. So on the 3rd of next month, I will be checking myself into a hospital for a spinal surgery.
Hopefully that all goes well. I mean, my uncle had to have that, and they partially screwed it up, and he walked around with a cane the rest of his life. So,
I know a couple guys that have had multiple back surgeries, and these are older people. And back surgery 20 years ago was butchery. And I'm not trying to say that it's not something serious or whatever that you need a professional for, but back surgery these days is so technologically advanced, Ellis. It's not the chainsaw to the back like everybody's old war stories. It's still not going to be pleasant. It's still going to be just uncomfortable, and it's still going to worry you. But it's not the brutal thing that it used to be. It's a whole lot more technologically advanced nowadays. Like light years technically advanced since my dad had his back surgeries.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He sat down with me and we talked it over, showed me the MRIs. And yeah, it's worse than what I was thinking it was, honestly. So I knew I was screwed up. I just didn't know how bad I was screwed up. But yeah, I don't mind telling you guys, I'm scared. I have never had a surgery ever. Period.
Yeah,
So,
anytime you got to go through something like that, it's scary. I've had when I was younger, God, 11, 12, 13, I had multiple surgeries in my abdominal area. And yeah, anytime you have surgery, man, it doesn't matter what kind it is, it's scary. So yeah, I
Yeah.
totally feel you on that one.
Yeah, he is like, you've walked around like this for 3 years. I said, yeah. He says, that's impressive. So I guess there's a compliment in there somewhere. But
Well, also, the doctor, the specialist, the surgeon, everybody's going to tell you it's 100 times worse too. To get you ready for 100 times worse. But like him saying that he's surprised you walk your that he, it's probably half of that. But he's going to tell you you're in there's a whole. It's hard to explain how they do it, man. They're not lying to you, but they're trying to prepare you for the worst. And the worst generally doesn't happen, especially nowadays, man. It's definitely a spooky thing to go through, but I think you're going to be in really, really good hands.
Yeah, the thing they got about that too is the human body has an incredible capacity of dealing with pain to the point where until it's gone, you don't realize how much pain you were in because you just got used to it. If you listen,
And the
I mean,
surgical supplies, I worked for a company that made surgical equipment for many years, and I worked in hospitals all over Maryland, Virginia, D.C. for many years. The equipment is amazing stuff too.
yeah, if you listen to Edge when he was talking about before he had his neck surgery, before he was forced to retire, he has stated that he didn't realize how much pain he was in every day because he had just gotten used to it. When he got his neck surgery and the headaches and everything that he was dealing with would go where all of a sudden gone, he couldn't believe it. He felt so much better because all that pain was gone and he had been just used to having that he didn't realize just how much pain he had been in.
Rick Mitchell just had his total hip replaced last week, and he's less than a week. He's feeling great.
yeah, they informed me that it's going to be. I'm going to miss probably 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 weeks of work because of this. And then it's going to be 12 weeks of probably very light work and bed rest. So we're going to see what's going on there.
Like I said, hopefully it all goes well for you and you're back on your feet and feeling a lot better afterwards.
Look at the bright side. You can have Night Strike come stay with you, and he can take care of you while you're laid up.
That's a bright side.
So
Well,
we're going to find out.
It will be for us.
Oh, I see what Kingpin's trying to do. He's trying to pawn Night Strike on you so that we don't have to deal with him. Uh-huh.
What's going on? I missed something.
Oh, no.
We're teasing Night Strike, that's all.
We're teasing Night Strike when he's not around. The usual.
Yeah.
See, you've been gone so long, you forgot all about the teasing of Night Strike, even if he's not around.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to be on my back for at least 3 or 4 weeks, and then he said another 12 to 16 after that before I can actually start living my life anywhere close to normal.
Yeah, that's the one thing. The surgical techniques are better. Recovery time's still going to take a while. I mean, there's no way they'd get around that.
Well, the good thing about recovery time is the actual injury from the surgery. Well, you'll recover from that quick, but it's all your other muscles and
right.
Your veins and your bones, especially being laid up for a long time. That's going to make you uncomfortable. So there's a lot of getting back to normal that you'll have to do in that time.
We shall see how that goes. Anyway, guys, I'm going to bail out, and I will catch you two later.
Okay,
thanks for the link, man.
Yeah, real quick before you do, I want to get. Have you heard any of the show so far?
No.
Okay. Did you happen to catch Dynamite, any part of Dynamite from Wednesday?
I did not.
We had our first appearance of a New Japan Pro Wrestling signed talent in a AEW wrestling ring.
That's cool.
Yeah. Kenta showed up at the end of the show and beat the crap out of Moxley.
Cool. So hopefully it goes right where you and I were talking it was going to go.
Man, it's looking more and more like that's where it's heading. You got Bullet Club AEW and Bullet Club New Japan talking about, flapping their jaws at each other back and forth on Twitter and stuff. And you got the main event next week, Kenny Omega and Kenta versus John Moxley and Lance Archer in a Falls Count Anywhere, no holds barred match. I mean, it's shaping up to where it's going, where we were speculating it might be.
Good deal. Well, hopefully, I will be getting cable soon and I will be able to enjoy these things. So, anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you guys to it. Again, I apologize for not being around, folks. Just bear with me for a while.
Hey, man, your health is is more important than the show. The show will still be there. Get yourself taken care of and come back when you're ready.
Yeah, take care.
Will do.
Get well soon, brother.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Yep. I would say have a good one, but I don't know how. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but do your best, too.
I'll manage, guys. I'll manage. Y'all take care.
Yep, you too.
Yeah, it's just it's hard to get over the nerves, especially the first time you're getting a surgery or a major surgery like that, and the way they describe it is a major surgery. It's not a cakewalk, but
oh no,
there's a lot of nerves involved in that, and that's hard to get over.
Oh yeah. Hey, it could be worse. You could be having abdominal surgery, man. When I was a kid and I had those surgeries, my brother was in the hospital at the same time for the first one. And him and a couple of the other kids, they thought it was so funny to make me laugh. You ever have abdominal surgery and laugh? Oh my God, you want to talk about pain? Your muscles down there are all the ones that contract when you're laughing. And when those muscles have been cut open and you laugh, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, that definitely sucks.
Yeah, that hurts.
And Makoja has been out there talking about some surgeries that he's had to go through.
Yeah, he said Earth has had some surgeries too, back surgery. Speaking of people that have been hurt and had and whatnot, Edge came back, last year in the Royal Rumble, and he got hurt again when he was wrestling Orton at WrestleMania during their best wrestling match ever. I mean, that's literally what they called it. But he came back this past Sunday and won the Royal Rumble. And not only that, there was another surprise entrant by the name of Christian. Christian has not wrestled in shoes. And, Edge and Christian, their history, right?
Right, yeah.
They're best friends and everything. Edge didn't know Christian was coming back. Edge was in the ring already for the Rumble, and Christian's music starts. Everybody in the ring stops. Edge looks up the ramp you could see in his face an act. He did not know Christian was going to be in that match. And when Christian hit that ring, he just ran over to him and gave him the biggest hug and started crying right there in the middle of the ring.
That's pretty cool.
If WWE would have allowed fan attendance, there wouldn't have been a dry eye in the house. I'm telling you right now. That was one of the most emotional moments I have seen in professional wrestling, let alone the Royal Rumble, ever. I mean, the emotion was real,
Well, and that's the kind of stuff that they can play to and not make it a big drama. not make it all soft and squishy, but like, the old school best friend tag team champions finally reunited after all the, that's a good story.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I was watching. I got goosebumps. you know, I'm getting goosebumps now talking about it. Jesus Christ! But yeah, it was one of those kind of moments. Another guy that made his return at the Royal Rumble when the surprise was Carlos Colon's son.
The athletes, I mean, there's so many different factors. There's the advance in training. There's the advance in the human body. I mean, we're just grown differently now. Diets, of course, the supplements that they give the guys, and then all the drugs that they do. Uh, then you've got, the medical advancements that help get people back into the ring faster. So there's a lot of different factors that keep these guys bouncing off their head every night.
Yeah. Well, Christian wasn't cleared for the match until right before he went out to the ring. I mean, it was a last minute clearance on him to be able to go out there. They had somebody else on standby in case he didn't pass that final test.
Does wrestling have a concussion protocol like
Yes.
NFL and hockey?
Yes,
and all that?
they do. That's why Daniel Bryan a couple years ago had to retire. Daniel Bryan was retired for 2 years because of the concussions that he had suffered, and he had to step away, and that's what made Christian have to step away was the concussion issues that he had. So yeah, they do check the wrestlers over, and there is definitely, if some promotions are better at it than others, but they all generally have a concussion protocol that the wrestlers have to go through before they're allowed to get in that ring.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see old school wrestling, in its new form become popular again.
Yeah. And by the way, on that the concussion front, that's why certain moves in WWE aren't allowed anymore, like the diving headbutt off the top rope, which I wish the others would get rid of that. Like you got the Hanma over in New Japan. His thing is what he has the Kakeshi where he does where he's just falls and does a headbutt kind of thing, but then he has the diving version where he jumps off the top rope. This guy is already suffered neck injuries and stuff from when he was doing the death matches, and anytime I see him do the diving Kakeshi, I cringe, because you look at guys like Daniel Bryan, who almost had his career ended. Guys like what happened with Chris Benoit as a result of the multiple diving headbutts he had performed in his career. Dynamite Kid with what happened to him with the diving headbutt. WWE banning that move was actually a good thing for the health of their performers. I wish other promotions would do the same thing, because somebody is going to hurt themselves badly again, and that move is just not a safe move. There's no way to perform that move safely where you're not going to damage your head in some way, shape, or form.
Once again, they've got 2021. They got the 21st century to lean on. You can go right down the street to the Hollywood movie studios and learn how to do all kinds of Matrix type of tricks without actually hitting the guy and without actually giving yourself a concussion or poking your own eye out. Or, so a move that is dumb, there's no reason for it anymore. Move on to something else. You got so many more options.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many more moves that can be done that don't need to. You don't need to be doing the diving headbutt. You don't need to be doing a jumping not DDT, pile driver. That's why most, if not all, federations have banned the jumping pile driver. That was the one like Paul Orndorff used to do because guys would get concussions from that.
Well, any pile driver, if you look at it, even back then, even when you were a little kid and you knew that they really weren't hurting themselves, and you saw Paul Orndorff pile drive somebody, you're like, I'm not doing that. You're not paying me enough to do that. That's stupid. I mean, it was cool watching him do it, but like how the person never got hurt, just
Well,
every single time.
Tombstone is a very safe move because all the pressure of that move is going on the person's doing its legs. You're not the person who's getting the move done to them really isn't taking anything from it. Because basically you're just sitting them down. If you actually watch the move and break it down in slow, they're dropping down to their knees and then sitting the person down on the mat. The person who's having the move done to them isn't getting any kind of violent jarring from it like you do from the Paul Orndorff style where he would jump and come down. He would land on his butt, and you would see the guy boom, move in his arms and stuff because the impact was moving that person, and that's what would cause the concussion. It's not necessarily them hitting their head on the mat, which wasn't happening. It was the jarring of their brain from the impact of him hitting the mat is what caused concussion issues.
When we talked about the last time I was on Ellis's channel, UFC used to, it was basically carpet stretched over plywood. So when you get slammed into that, there was no give.
Well, that's all wrestling rings are, is a sheet of canvas over top of plywood.
Well, I know, but the body slam that Dusty Rhodes got's different than the body slam that whoever wrestles now is going to get because the canvases are a whole lot better.
No, it's still just a canvas sheet over plywood. It's not really changed. There's not any padding or anything in there. It's still the same thing.
Yeah, but you can see when they walk, it's got a little bit of that spring in it.
That's just because they loosened up the plywood. It's not the canvas or anything else. It's just how tight they make the plywood. And there are and the ring will change from one location to another. When they go from one location, if you look at when they were traveling still, say WWE, when they would be traveling, you look at Raw and the ring looks a little springier than what it did a couple of nights later on SmackDown, because it's the tolerances and how tight they tighten it down and whatnot. Somebody tightens down the nuts that hold the bolts in a little bit tighter than what they did a couple of days ago, and you're going to feel a difference in that ring.
Because the UFC changed their rings pretty dramatically, so I figured.
Yeah, UFC did. The wrestling rings are basically still the same as what they were using in the 80s.
Yeah, I kind of just assumed that, when boxing and wrestling changed their ring, or boxing and UFC changed their rings, wrestling would have too.
No, it's still the same basic thing.
What happened with Ricky Steamboat? Reminds me of Jake interview on Ricky Steamboat. What was that about?
I don't know. I did not see it. So I don't know what he was talking about there.
Ricky Steamboat used to do a flying headbutt or something.
No, he did a flying crossbody. I don't remember him doing a headbutt. Steamboat's finisher was the guy would get up from being knocked down. Steamboat would be on the top rope, and he would come off and do a crossbody on the guy and land on top of him and pin him.
Did you ever have a figure 4 put on you?
Me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But yeah, I have. My brother and I would do stupid things like that when we were kids. No, what he was talking about was Steamboat wouldn't let Jake DDT him on the cement floor. So yeah, I can see that. And he says, yes, he has a brother too. So yeah, isn't that the thing? I mean, you got a brother and you watch wrestling, you're putting each other in wrestling holds. I used to grab my younger brother and I'd hit him with Magnum TA belly to belly suplex onto the floor. My mother get pissed off. Stop doing that! What are you going to hurt somebody? Yeah. Yeah, brothers do stupid things like that. What was funny is when my stepsister would get into the act and she tried doing it.
I just MK Joe just emailed me the link to the Jake Roberts video, so I forwarded it to you.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was the other way around. Jake didn't want to do what he said. That Ricky Steamboat begged him to do it, and Ricky was up for a while. Yeah, that would be a good way to get a concussion too. I mean, cement floor. But guys do that all the time now. But you got to that one. If you do it right, you can protect the guy you're doing it to. That jumping pile driver, there is absolutely no way to protect the guy that you're doing that move to.
Oh, it's not really any way to protect you either, because
No.
you're landing straight on your butt bones.
Well, that move is what eventually caused Stone Cold to have to retire. That was the move that Owen Hart did to him and broke Austin's neck. Put him out for a while, and then he wrestled for a few years after that, and then eventually he had to retire from it. And it was all because of that pile driver, which to this day Austin says Owen Hart did not apologize to him for.
Oh, I mean, what would he have to apologize to him for?
Well, there's just a tradition. If you hurt a guy in a match, even if it's accidentally, like in something in a case like that, it's just traditional that you apologize to him and you check up on him and stuff. Austin said Hart didn't do any of that. He didn't apologize to him. Never checked on him to make sure he was doing okay on his recovery and all that other stuff. And it's like I said, it's traditional where if something like that happens, you check on the guy and you apologize and all that. And Owen Hart didn't do any of that.
Yeah, I get that. I guess the professional courtesy, I guess.
Yeah, that would definitely be the way to put it. Yeah, professional courtesy. But yeah, I heard one person say, this isn't me saying this, and I don't necessarily agree with it, but I actually heard somebody say maybe what happened to Owen Hart was karma. Again, that's not me. That's just somebody else I know said that one time, and I just looked at him like, did you literally just say that? And he was like, well, you heard what Owen Hart did with Austin. I'm like, dude, really? Yeah. No, I get it. But in a way, he had a point if you think about it, because Owen could have killed Austin in that match. That's the crazy part when you really stop and think about what he said. He's not far off. If karma's a thing, I don't like saying it, but he had a point.
Well, yeah, sure, but I mean, karma doesn't stand up to scrutiny for more than 2 sentences.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said if.
But I mean, I get it. What goes around comes around. Don't be a jerk. When bad things happen to you, if you're a jerk, I get all that. But I don't know. Sometimes, when it's funny, it's fun. But if it's not funny, then there's no real reason to bring it up.
No, but it just popped into my head. It was like, so I thought, I just thought I'd get your take and see what you thought on that one, because I thought he was out of line to say it. It's just,
Yeah, I don't know this. I mean, if Owen Hart went around talking about screw that guy, I don't care what happened to him or whatever, he can stop crying. If he was being a jerk about it, as opposed to being a jerk about it by not, hey dude, you okay, man? I didn't mean to do that. You sure you're all right? Aside from being that much of a jerk, like if he was just going around talking about screw Austin, then maybe. But if it was something that he just put out of his mind and everybody else decided to remember and think about,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, but yeah. What happened to Owen Hart? Man, that was bad. He didn't really want to do it. McMahon, from all accounts, McMahon made him do it, and the equipment failed.
Yeah, that's when he like fell from the scaffolding or something, right?
He was trying. You know how Sting would do the entrances where he would slide down the rope and everything to get into the ring when he
No,
was.
I never saw him do that.
Yeah, well, that's basically what Owen Hart was doing. That's what Vince wanted him to do. Was basically that kind of entrance, and the the oh man, the ring that holds you onto the rope. Damn, I can't think of it. What it's called now? The D ring.
The D ring, yeah.
Yeah, it it failed, and it caused him to fall to, and he fell to his death. And yeah, that's what happened with him.
Oh, that sucks. Did they buy the D ring from 7-Eleven at the counter?
I just it was just one of those things that happens. I mean, they had rehearsed it and everything, uh, and during rehearsals, it worked fine, no issues whatsoever. He gets up there, starts doing the move for in front of the live audience, live on pay per view, and falls to his death.
Is there any pictures of the D ring?
I don't know.
I'd be interested in seeing it. I mean, I've done some climbing. I'm familiar with climbing gear, and it's almost impossible to break a D ring.
Yeah, well, they were cleared of all negligence kinds of issues. It was put down when they looked at the equipment and everything. It was put down as just equipment failure. It was just one of those things, one of those weird things that happens. Because they had used the same equipment the whole time when they were doing the rehearsals and everything. It wasn't like they switched the D ring or anything to a different one or anything like that. There was no signs anywhere that there was any kind of negligence. It was just equipment failure.
Wow.
Sad, and you know, it is what it is. It's just one of those weird things that happens that nobody can forecast.
Yeah.
Gary wants to know what this is. What is this, Kingpin?
I didn't see anything.
Oh, yeah. Well, since Ellis has been in here, it's been a downer, but good Lord, man.
Really,
dying and stuff.
we've been talking about how wrestlers can perform at a much higher level more often now because of medical advancements across the board.
Oh man, that just reminds me. It was announced earlier today or yesterday. Butch Reed passed away.
Who's that?
You don't remember Butch Reed?
Not.
Muscular black guy, was really agile. Tagged with Ron Simmons in Doom. He would sometimes have his hair dyed blonde. He was in WWE or WWF for a little while. He was a Heenan, or he was either one of Heenan's guys or one of Slick's guys at one point. Went by the name The Natural, if I remember correctly, when he was in WWF.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He had his hair dyed blonde. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I remember him now.
Yeah, he passed away this week. He was born in 54, so he's in his 60s.
How do you get that big?
Hmm?
Yeah, so how do you get that big?
How do you get that big? As big as what he was?
Yeah.
Lots and lots of weightlifting. He was a former, like Ron Simmons, he was a former football player too, so.
I mean, I've done my fair share of weightlifting in my lifetime, dude. I've never been even as big as one of his guys' arms.
No, I've I played football in high school and I never got that big, but some guys with genetics and stuff, man, it's just different. Everybody's different. And back then, back when he would have been a football player, would have been before the NFL really cracked down on the say supplement use.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so that was during his era. That would have been a lot more prevalent. But if you look at Ron Simmons now, though, I mean, Ron Simmons is still a big guy. Some of it's not just the stimulants. Some of it, genetics plays a part too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Some people are just born.
Big. Yeah. I mean, have you ever seen Brock Lesnar's dad?
No,
Brock Lesnar's dad is a farmer, and dude is bigger than Lesnar is. I'm not joking. Brock Lesnar's dad is a big guy. And it's from throwing around bales of hay and shit. He put on the bales of hay aren't light, and he's throwing around. He's been throwing around bales of hay his whole life, and that's how Lesnar got to be as big as he is at first. Like when he was in high school and stuff. That's working on the farm. He talks about it on when he was on Stone Cold's podcast. When he got into high school and stuff, he was as big as what he was in high school from helping his dad on the farm. Throwing around the hay bales and stuff. That another one is Braun Strowman. That's why he's as big as he is. His dad's a big guy too. So I mean, there's things like that too that play a part. Yeah, I mean, you do stuff like that, and you're throwing around bales of hay as a kid. Yeah, you're gonna put muscle on pretty fast. Those,
I'd like to wake up in the morning and be 6'5", like 260.
well, you almost got the 6'5" part. You just need to put some weight on.
I thought the same thing, man. I'm 6'2", and the first time I met somebody that was 6'4", I was like, "Where's the ladder?"
Man, you're 6'2".
Yeah,
You didn't seem that much bigger, taller than I was.
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I just didn't pay attention. Yeah, 'cause you're 2 inches taller than I am. Just didn't seem like it. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Kingpin and I have actually met in real life before. Of course, anybody who's been following the channel knows that already because of the Burger King incident, I think.
Yeah. We may or may not have been somewhere at what may or may not have been some type of rally for what may or may not have been the Second Amendment.
Mm-hmm. And we may or may not have walked around DC trying to find Kingpin's car for an hour and a half.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yes. Completely and totally allegedly. And my back may or may not have been killing me by the time we found his car. And then his GPS allegedly led us, instead of to the highway, to the parking lot of the Kennedy Center. Am I in Virginia? No, but I'm not far from there. I'm in West Virginia. But 45 minutes north of Winchester, Virginia. That sound about right to you? About 45 minutes from Winchester?
Yeah, something like that. G-Webs has got a pretty good prospect here. I mean, you could have a wrestling match versus this show versus Monday night with Hatfield, but Hatfield will have to jump back and forth between, he'll have to turncoat.
Yeah, he's asking everybody to Gore. I've been in the area before. Does this chat wrestle the Monday Night Out chat? No, this chat usually takes place on the Outlaw Hatfields channel, but because of the issues that he was just on here talking about with his back and everything, we're doing it here tonight. So, if this chat were wrestling the Outlaw Hatfields chat, would that be the Outlaw Hatfield like thumb wrestling himself?
That's what I was saying. He'll have to switch sides at some point in time during the match.
He says there's a nice outdoor range at the park there in Gore, Virginia. Yeah, Gore, Virginia is not that far from Winchester. It's down in that area. Yeah, and that's the one thing about this part of West Virginia. There really aren't any public ranges. All the outdoor ranges and public ranges are in the other side of the state. The little panhandle here doesn't have any.
Isn't there anything in Maryland close by?
Yeah, it's not it's open to the public, but it has range fees, and you gotta join their club or something. But yeah, there's an outdoor range in Maryland, not that far from here, right up 220 from here somewhere. Yeah, the only outdoor range that's close to here in West Virginia is still like an hour and a half away, something like that, and it's a shotgun only.
Yeah, we've got a trap shooting place like 5 minutes from here. And then my next closest range, the one I usually go to, is like maybe 15 minutes, maybe 20. But that's been closed for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, Berkeley. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say Berkeley Springs at Capon State Park. They used to have a shotgun range there, but they closed it down because nobody was actually using it. I mean, that area, everybody's got land that they can go shoot on, So
Yeah.
nobody was using the shotgun range there. They would have a competition every so often, but then people stopped really participating in that too, so they shut down the range and turned it into something else. Which, again, it was shotgun only, so that didn't do me much good anyway. I'm not the world's biggest shotgun shooter. I mean, I can shoot a shotgun. I don't find shooting shotguns as fun as some other people do.
No, I mean I like shotgun, but that's not going to be my weekly choice to take out to the range.
No. Now, I do like my 20 gauge Shockwave. That is a fun gun to shoot. But I'm not saying that my Vepr 12 isn't a fun gun to shoot. But if I'm going to the range, that Vepr 12 is not my first choice to put in the range bag. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean I got a 410 and a couple 12 gauge.
Yeah.
And they're all fun, but in small doses.
Yeah. I mean, when I was a kid, we used to, shotgun, I think I shot the most when I was a kid was a single shot 12 gauge. And you want to talk about something that kicks?
Yeah, I've got a Winchester 37A.
Mm-hmm.
A break action single shot. And I can't shoot it. It needs to go to a gunsmith and get some real good TLC before I dare put a shotgun shell in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one I shot was my stepfather's. It was a full choke, single shot, 12 gauge. I don't remember what brand it was. It was an exposed hammer, so it was an older one because you don't see very many exposed hammer shotguns anymore. And yeah, man, that would bruise your shoulder. Now, Gary's saying his single shot break action 410 kicks like a mule. Would that be like an Eeyore? If Eeyore kicked it? I don't know. I had a break action 410 and that thing didn't kick very hard at all. Now, how the hell did we get on the shotguns from talking about wrestling?
I'm not sure.
I totally don't remember how we got to this point.
That's fun.
It's like, wait a minute. How did we get talking about guns? Oh, I remember now. MKJO asked if I had ever been to the range in Gore. That's what it was.
Oh,
That's what it was. It's his fault. I don't know, Gary. I mean, single shot 410 the one we had didn't recoil all that much.
yeah, but I mean, he is right though. A single shot is going to have
Oh yeah, I know.
probably more recoil than like a standard semi-auto or something like that.
Yeah, I get that point, but I wouldn't say that that the one we had kicked like a mule. I mean, it didn't kick anywhere near as bad as 12 gauge.
Well, I didn't say I agreed with the whole mule thing, but he has got a point about it.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. Well, I conceded that part. I'm arguing the adjective at this point. DJ Play Night says they're poppy. I can see that. Okay. Now Gary says a small mule, maybe. Okay, we'll grant you a small mule, Gary. We'll give you that small victory. Oh man, that's funny. But, yeah.
Do any of these wrestlers pro 2A?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they're vocal about it.
Oh, Undertaker is for sure. I mean, have you seen his Instagram? And Braun Strowman too. Braun Strowman had a picture. Braun Strowman has done ads for Nighthawk Custom.
Nice.
He when they came out with their Agent 2 1911, he did a photo shoot for them, and he was holding that thing. That's a full size 1911, right? In his hand, it looked like a Smith & Wesson shield. Literally, his hand is that huge. I don't know if the picture's still there. This was like 2 years ago, I think now. But yeah, that was his hand is just huge. And we talked about before with Undertaker, the safe that his wife got him for either his birthday or their anniversary or something. She got him a custom gun safe. And it looks like an old West Bank vault.
Nice.
And it's big enough to where he can stand in it.
Wow.
And remember, this is a guy that's almost 7 feet tall.
All that means is he doesn't own enough guns.
Well, he was showing it when he first got it. He hadn't put anything in it yet. Yeah. By the way, both of those guys go to SHOT Show every year.
That doesn't sound very 2A to me. If he's got room to walk around in his safe, that should be.
No. I mean, he had just got it. He had just been delivered to his house. It was still on a wood pallet. He took the
excuses, man. That's.
So what you're saying is he's not 2A enough because it wasn't full of guns when he got it.
I'm saying tomorrow when you wake up and there's no more 2A, we might have some people to blame, and he's going to be one of them.
Uh-huh. Oh, another gun guy who's also a car guy is Bill Goldberg.
Yeah, I knew he was in the guns. I've seen him on TV shows with guns.
Yeah, Stone Cold is. Shawn Michaels is. Shawn Michaels had a hunting and gun television show on the Outdoor Channel for the longest time. I don't know if he still does or not. See what it says. If you have a safe as big as a closet, you don't need any guns. People would just assume you have a lot of them.
That's a pretty good deterrent. Hey, the little smile your own camera sign on your front door is just as good as having a camera.
Yeah, he's got a safe that literally could hold 100 guns, unlike one of those ones you see at your local Tractor Supply, which says 100 guns, and you're lucky if you can get 20 in it.
That's why I don't bother with the safe. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense because I started buying guns recreationally in 2017. September of 2017 is when I bought my first rifle. And pretty much right away, I would have outgrown any safe that I bought. So I'd have had to buy a second one and a third one. And it's just stupid. So I just built kind of a gun room.
Right. It's like you're talking about on Rick's show earlier with people getting the FFL. As long as you have some place that can be shown to be secure.
This is like a glorified secured closet, more or less. It's like a little walk-in closet.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that do that. They'll take a closet in a room that the closet, they're not using the closet, and they'll turn that into a gun storage area. I've seen that multiple times. I've seen people have taken small rooms and turned them into gun closets.
Well, when I was in high school, they built like a real fancy neighborhood at the very end of my road, and one of the dudes up there was in one of my classes, so we became friends. And his dad was a former Secret Service agent or CIA guy. I think he was Secret Service. I can't remember. Some one of those alphabet government guys.
Mm-hmm.
And he had half of his basement. Now they lived in a massive house. Like their pool was as big as my house. So they lived in like a big house.
Mm-hmm.
He took half the basement and turned that into his gun room. So when you walk in, off to the left was all his like reloading stuff. And then off to the right, he built another room. So when you open it up, it was like on TV when you open the gun room and there's all these guns hanging on the wall and stuff like that. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, you get people that'll do that. They'll turn whole rooms into like gun closets. They'll put. There was one person that somebody my grandfather knew them, and they had a room. They had build a cabin, right, where inside you had drywalled walls and everything. It looked like a regular house from the inside, but the outside it had the log cabin look to it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So they had a room, about the size of your average living room, right? That they turned into a gun room where they had, when they had it built, they had steel sheets put into the wall, almost like armor, kind of steel sheets put into the wall and in the door, and it had like a vault lock on it, right? So they basically turned this room into a gun vault.
My nephew was going to do something like that, and I talked him out of it because he was going to spend thousands of dollars on reinforced walls and all this kind of stuff in a room in his basement, which was the room on the back side of his house. So 3/4 of it, well, half of it was underground. So unless somebody's going to dig a giant hole in your yard and bust through concrete walls and all that kind of stuff, I told him just put a secure door up. Reinforce the hinges, put a new frame up, and put a new door up, and you're a couple $100 in, and that's it.
That's about it. The extent of it. I mean, if you're building underground, not people aren't going to be trying to break into your house with an excavator.
Well, even if it's your bedroom upstairs, and you've got a secure door, I'm talking about you got to have new framing put in, new trim put in, a decent door put in, a decent deadbolt. So it can't just be battered rammed down. People aren't going to take the time to cut through a drywall wall, cut through all the studs, get through the insulation, the electrical wire, the plumbing, then get into your room and get all your. I mean, if that's happening, then you were targeted directly for a specific reason.
G-Webs wants to know how Guns and Barbecue gets an invite to every live show on YouTube.
Guns and Barbecue's cool.
It's blind privilege.
There you go.
And Bernie asks, what's the point of a hidden room if everybody lost their guns in the boating accident? Well, the guy that my grandfather's friend knew, that was before everybody was worried about boating accidents. So, and then DJ says that his boat is in the secret room. So that's a weird place to keep your boat there, DJ.
Not unless you're trying to keep it a secret.
Well, no.
Well, what if-
I was going to say unless he's got, like, the back cave had that secret entrance that led out into the river so that they could use the bat boat. DJ's secret room opens up so that he can drive the boat right out of it.
But what if the secret room is really just a swimming pool?
Uh-huh.
Well, that's a weird place to keep your guns.
Hey, Tibbs, Special Agent Tibbs built a boat in his basement.
I don't know. I'd like to think if I took a food saver and vacuum sealed all my guns, a swimming pool would be a great hiding spot.
No, because it's clear. We found all his guns. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but you just put another tarp at the bottom, double line it.
I know a girl that had a black swimming pool. So you could paint your swimming pool black and then throw them on the bottom of the pool.
Yeah, but if they got like wood furniture on them or something, that ain't gonna work too well. That's gonna stand out against that black background.
Now, when you're 7 feet deep in a swimming pool that's painted black, it looks like it's got full of black water. Like you can't see the bottom. Plus, I mean,
Yeah,
come on, Guns and Barbecue's a smart guy. It's not like he's not gonna cover that up. He's not gonna put him in a nice shiny bag at the bottom of the water. Come on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he said he was going to.
having the entire pool be black like that, I don't think you'd have much contrast even through the water.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as I can't see it, that's all that matters, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Anybody
Anybody just stealing our guns? Come on.
You just gotta say that they're lying. Like if they're like, no, it's right there, I can see it. Be like, I can't, so you're lying.
And even if the ATF guy is like, I see it, I'm like, I had no idea.
I
Lying.
had no idea that was there. I didn't put it there. Is that what you're trying to go with? See
Is
this
that a
guy
grenade?
with his blind privilege. Oh man, I tell you, some people.
Got to milk it for everything it's worth.
Uh-huh. Well, speaking of guns, I found something interesting out today. Being a veteran, I may not have to pay for not only not have to pay for the permit in the state of West Virginia if I want to carry in other states. I may not even have to take the concealed carry class.
There you go.
That's pretty sweet. You could just live in a freedom-loving state like Pennsylvania, where you just walk into the sheriff's office, give them $20 and fill out a paper, and then they give you your concealed carry.
I just walk into my local sheriff's office, show them my DD 214, and I don't even pay.
He doesn't live in Maryland. He lives in West Virginia. Hey, so does Guns and Barbecue know about New Japan and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, he watches New Japan and stuff, but I don't know if he watches Dynamite.
Well, right now I don't have any cable, so I haven't really gotten to watch anything new.
Okay.
Really since the inception of AEW. Like I watched the first couple weeks, and then I got rid of cable, and I haven't really gotten to see anything after that.
So, do you know anything about what's going on right now?
Right now, no. Like when I heard about Brody Lee dying, I was like, "Holy cow!" And I heard about that like 10 days after it happened.
Okay, so you don't know about the potential merger between or operations between New Japan, Impact, AEW, AAA. You know nothing about any of that.
This is the first time I'm hearing about it. So what? They're kind of creating their own NWA.
Well, the
Or-
NWA is involved already. So, yeah.
But I mean,
The NWA
something
is
along
still
that line, where you got an alliance of territories, or are they all going to
yeah,
be
that's what it.
one entity?
That is what it's looking like, an alliance of territories.
That'd be pretty neat.
You've had for God, like a good month or so now, or over a month maybe, where Impact has been working with excuse me, AEW. And you've had Kenny Omega working with Gallows and Anderson. Okay? You follow me here? I'm sure you know who Gallows and Anderson are, and I know you know who Kenny Omega is, right? Good. You there? Guns and Barbecue.
Yeah, letting the dog out. Sorry.
Okay. But you know
But
you
yeah,
know Gallows, you know the Bullet Club history, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. So basically you got an Impact AEW branch of the Bullet Club right now,
Okay.
which is Kenny Omega, the Good Brothers, and the Young Bucks.
Yep.
Okay. You have the New Japan version of the Bullet Club, which technically owns the trademark. So for them to be using the Bullet Club trademark and not getting sued on AEW and Impact, that tells you
snap.
something right there.
So
Right?
they're actually getting to use the trademark. I didn't realize that. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah. Well, at the last Impact pay-per-view, Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers all came out wearing Bullet Club regalia.
Nice.
And John Moxley's contract with New Japan stipulates that he's not to wrestle for New Japan in the United States. Guess what happened? Not yesterday, but on the week before's New Japan Strong. Moxley
Okay.
showed up. New Japan Strong is filmed in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah, he showed up there and he whacked El Phantasmo in the head with the IWGP US Heavyweight Championship. So, fast forward to this week on Dynamite. Omega and the Good Brothers are taking on Moxley, Pac, and Ray Phoenix in a 6-man tag match. Omega and Gallows and Anderson win the match. They start a beatdown on the other 3 guys. Lance Archer, of all people, you remember him from Suzuki-gun? Runs out to make the save. Clears the ring. The only 2 guys left in the ring are Moxley and Omega. Moxley is getting ready to beat on Omega because Moxley's pissed at Omega for taking the AEW title off of him and cheating to do so. Next thing you know, the guy runs into the ring wearing a black COVID mask and black zip-up hoodie. Starts hitting Moxley, grabs him, puts him in a GTS, go to sleep. There are 2 guys in professional wrestling known for using the go-to-sleep maneuver. One is CM Punk, whose speculation has been that he may join AEW at some point. The other is Kenta, who is signed to New Japan and is a member of Bullet Club New Japan, right? Takes off the mask, takes off the hoodie. It's Kenta wearing a Bullet Club shirt in the middle of an AEW ring.
Yeah, I kind of figured it wasn't going to be CM Punk.
It very well could have until he took that mask off and hoodie. You couldn't tell because they're about the same size.
Yeah.
So fast forward, they do the after show like they do every week and put for their YouTube channel. Kenta's leaving. Don Callis, who is the executive vice president of Impact, and right now Kenny Omega's manager, and Kenny Omega are walking after Kenta as Kenta's leaving. And Kenta's like wanting nothing to do with them. And then as he's leaving, Don Callis yells to him, "How about a tag team match next week? You and Omega versus Archer and Moxley." Kenta stops, turns around, and walks back to him. For those of you who don't know, Jon Moxley happens to be the IWGP US Heavyweight Champion, as I just stated, which is why he had the belt to whack El Fantasma with it. Kenta is the number one contender for that belt right now. So, announced yesterday, the main event for Dynamite next week is Moxley and Archer versus Kenta and Omega in a no-holds-barred Falls Count Anywhere tag team match.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to try and get one of those digital antennas.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to see if I can't start getting some wrestling back in my life.
I don't know if I'm going to find any on there because it's all on cable.
Well,
or streaming service.
I know, like, at my ex's house, because my kids go to their mother's on Friday and come back to me on Sunday. But so I know when they go to their mother's, they tell me that they get to watch SmackDown all the time, and that's all she has is one of those.
Yeah, well, that's on Fox. Yeah, that's on Fox. That's the only one that's not on cable.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, like TNA, Impact, AEW, New Japan, that's all going to be cable stuff or streaming service.
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured.
Yeah, wrong kind of no holds barred there, Moo. Leave it to him, right? No holds barred. College days. I had to put him on the 5-minute rule out there in the chat. But then he'll think he's timed out for 5 minutes because he doesn't understand that. Go back to 2 Christmas episodes ago, and you'll see where that comes from. Moo's having flashbacks there, Buck. That's for sure. But yeah, I mean, we got some interesting things going on in professional wrestling, and that doesn't even include Ring of Honor at this point, who has a working relationship with New Japan already before any of this happened. And if you remember, Impact has off and on had a working relationship with New Japan. That's where Okada went when he went on excursion when he was a young lion. Are you letting the dog back in again? He disappeared again on us.
Sorry, I was listening. I was getting the dog again.
That's what I figured. But yeah, I mean, they said, if you remember, Impact and New Japan have had a working relationship off and on for years.
Yep.
That's where Okada went for his excursion.
Yeah, let's say it. I remember when the AEW stuff happened, there was talks that they were going to work with New Japan. Then that seemed like it got
there was speculation. Yeah, there was speculation, but then the guy that was running New Japan at the time said it's never going to happen under my watch, and he was fired a few months ago. So, and now you get all this coming together, and you got Kenta in a New Japan ring, and you got Tony Khan letting Moxley essentially violate his contract and appear on a New Japan US-based program.
Well, I think Tony Khan's smart enough guy to realize that now that if they can work with New Japan, they've got a really big business opportunity here.
Yeah, I mean, let's count the federations that we know are involved in this right now. We got Impact, AEW, NWA, and New Japan. Why NWA? Because the NWA Women's Championship has been defended on Dynamite multiple times.
Didn't you say AAA is involved also?
Yes, AAA is involved also, because you've had Kenny Omega defend the AAA title on Impact, and so have the AAA tag team titles. Which, when AEW was founded, the Young Bucks had just defeated the Lucha Brothers, Phoenix and Pentagon, for those tag team titles. So yeah, and makes you wonder if Ring of Honor is going to jump in on this too, since they are having a working relationship and until COVID. I mean, COVID basically what shut everything down.
Yep.
But Ring of Honor does have a working relationship with New Japan. Last year, 2019, the New Japan and Ring of Honor did a big show in Madison Square Garden, which pissed Vince McMahon off because he considered that his territory, and he tried stopping him from having it, if you remember.
Yeah. Well, didn't they sell out like 2 or 3 days? Wasn't that?
Yeah, it sold out like that.
Was that the juniors tournament or?
No, this was just a super show that they did with New Japan and
Okay.
Ring of Honor. Well, there wasn't a tournament or anything. No, the tournament they did. The first couple matches of the G1 in 2019 were in Dallas, and damn it, there was and somewhere I don't remember where else, but they did Dallas. It might have been Los Angeles where the G1 started. The G1 started in Dallas, then moved to I want to say Los Angeles, and then moved from there to Japan. I think they did a show in San Francisco too. But the Super J Cup's been in the United States before. But if it wasn't for COVID, New Japan was on the verge of having a major breakthrough in the United States. They had already done some shows in the U.S., but they were really on the verge of cracking into the U.S. market and having some of the major shows here, which is one of the reasons why they've kept the presence here by doing New Japan Strong during COVID. And that's why Kenta's in the United States in the first place, because he was filming for that. Because right now he doesn't have anything in New Japan that he's involved with. Because like we were talking about before, New Japan rests their guys every so often. And Kenta was on that rest cycle in Japan. So he came over here and was filming stuff for New Japan Strong. And that's when they got the idea to, hey, let's have Kenta attack Moxley, since he attacked Kenta pre-recorded, obviously, because New Japan Strong is recorded. But they had basically Kenta appearing on AEW this week was in response to when Moxley attacked him on New Japan Strong. Because Moxley was after Kenta, but El Phantasmo got in the middle of the two of them, and that's why he got racked in the head with the title belt instead of Kenta getting in the head with the title belt. Yeah, so it's interesting going on right now on that front between all of these peoples and their organizations.
Oh, boys, it's time for me to tap out. Stupid snow is coming, so I gotta get up early.
No.
You make it sound like it's a big, scary thing that's coming to get you.
Snow? Because I haven't seen anything in the forecast.
Yeah, there's calling for snow here starting at like 3 a.m.
Are they?
Yeah, weather says.
So, I ain't calling for anything here.
I live in a different state than you do.
Dude, you live like 2 hours from here.
Hey, still. Hey.
All right, catch you later.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Yep, thanks for jumping in, Kingpin.
See you guys.
Tomorrow morning they're calling for some. Potentially. About a 50% chance. So what are your thoughts on all this?
It sounds exciting as hell to me. one, you're not going to have, well, hopefully you're not going to have the stagnant storylines where, because you can only have so many top performers and you can only have them on top for so long and try and keep fresh storylines. I think that's one of the problems with WWE is, they've got a handful of guys that they deem, hey, these are the guys that we want to be the face of the company and push behind. Well, there's only so many storylines you can come up with. And for, whatever they are going to call this new alliance with all these different factions, you're going to be able to have the trading of talent.
Oh yeah.
Between New Japan's going to be able to call up and say, hey, what do you got going on with Moxley? And it could be a downtime for AEW where they're like, you know what, we don't need Moxley right now. Send us Okada. And
how about just some matches? Jeff Cobb versus Brian Cage.
Yeah. I mean, then you can get into, you got the NWA in this, so, go old school with it and make the NWA title the premier title, and whoever holds that just go around to all the different friggin' places, AEW, New Japan, AAA, everything, and just pull a Ric Flair and defend it all the time.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, we talked about that before when all this was first starting to come to light. I mean, Alice and I have been talking about this forever since we started doing the show together, and then Kingpin and I were talking about it last week. Yeah, the NWA World's Heavyweight title, make that your major title that's defended everywhere, and then you got the other titles that are like one step below that, like the AEW title, the AAA title, the Impact World Heavyweight title. Those are all right underneath there, and you got yourself an interesting situation. And then the talent trading back and forth. I mean, you get matches like Brian Cage versus Shingo Takagi. That would be a hell of a match. Cage against Ishii. Could you imagine that one?
It'd be interesting.
Yeah. Suzuki versus anybody. Like Minoru Suzuki against anybody. It would be interesting to see. Somebody on the one wrestling channel I watch it threw out there Suzuki versus Dustin Rhodes.
Ooh.
That would be an interesting match.
Yeah.
Hiromu versus Rich Swann. That would be
there's a lot of fantasy matches that you can come up with now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, heck, then. Oh shit! WWE re-trademarked War Games, so they can't use that.
No, they were going to use one. They were going to do one called Blood and Guts.
Yeah.
And somebody threw out there, what if they did a Blood and Guts match? AEW Bullet Club versus New Japan Bullet Club.
Well, that's what I was thinking when you first mentioned that is, on one hand, I think that'd be really cool, but at the same time, you obviously have to have a winner. And is New Japan going to want to let that cash cow go for them? So then, AEW Bullet Club, you would almost think would have to lose that one, which, where's the benefit there then?
I don't think it would hurt either company, to be honest. And if the money's good enough, I don't think either's going to care.
Yeah.
I mean, so New Japan's Bullet Club team wins this time. The next time they may lose. I mean, it depends on the lineup. New Japan's Bullet Club's got more people in it.
And the thing is, since Omega and the Young Bucks left, I haven't viewed the Bullet Club the same. I just haven't felt like they were quite as strong as they were before.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're doing a reemergence kind of storyline right now. They have all the tag team gold right now. Well, they don't have the never open weight, but they got the junior heavyweight and the heavyweight tag titles right now. GOD's got the heavyweight tag titles, and then El Phantasmo and Ishimori got the junior heavyweight tag titles. And Jay White just had a nervous breakdown storyline where he went away after Wrestle Kingdom, and he just came back.
Okay.
He's looking to be, and he's acting like he's entirely pissed off right now. So, and Jay White, man, I'm telling you, that guy is talented. Don't sleep on him. He gets going, and you know, he's got the potential to be another Randy Orton.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm talking about. Orton is one of the most talented guys in the world when he gives a damn.
Yep.
Jay White's shaping up to be that same kind of guy. So,
No, I don't know a whole lot about Jay White. Is he a legacy also, or
No,
Okay.
he's not a legacy. He's just really talented.
which is even more impressive then? Because I mean, when you start talking about guys like Orton, part of the reason they're so good is they grew up in the business, and when you're a third generation, you learn everything.
Yeah, Jay White's a young guy, and he reminds me a lot of Orton. He's got that same build and stuff when Orton did when he was younger. Remember when him, Triple H, Flair,
Evolution.
Yes, thank you, Evolution. He looks like Orton did when he was in Evolution.
Yeah.
And he's already been IWGP World Heavyweight title holder, IWGP US Heavyweight Champion, and IWGP Intercontinental Champion. The only thing he hasn't done to complete their version of the Grand Slam is hold the tag team title.
Which could probably happen at pretty much any time.
Yeah, he's only been back from the excursion for what, 3 years now? 3.5 years? So, yeah, he's still a relatively young guy. He's still in his 20s. And then,
That's not bad at all.
No, another good match I just thought of: God versus FTR.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Private Party versus Show and Yo. You might not know who Private Party is. They're
I've heard of them, but I'm not familiar with their work.
Yeah, they're a junior heavyweight, basically tag team from AEW. A couple of black dudes are like really, they're really mobile and stuff. They got the basic, your typical prototypical cruiserweights, right?
Gotcha.
Them against Show and Yo would be good. Them against Ishimori and El Phantasmo would be good too. Or Kanemaru and Desperado,
Yeah.
throw them in the light heavyweight division, and you got yourself a good mix. That's one thing about New Japan that's a strength of theirs. I think it's their light heavyweight division, because you really don't see that anywhere else anymore.
Yeah.
WWE, they got the cruiserweight title, but that's more of an NXT thing, and it's not done to the level as what New Japan does it. I mean, New Japan keeps their light heavyweights and their heavyweights separate literally in two separate divisions. WWE doesn't do that.
Yep.
I mean, and then they got the big how did they put it? Big man fight. The big man fight title, which is the never open weight championship, which, that's where you get like Shingo and Jeff Cobb and Ishii and Gato. Not Gato. Huh? Am I thinking of the other guy from Chaos? Can't think of his damn name right now.
Can't think of it.
His finisher's the GTR, and I can't think of his name. Goto, Hiroki Goto. Yeah, I mean, they got. Do you know about Will Ospreay's new stable?
I'm not sure if I do.
He turned heel on Okada, leaving Chaos in the process, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Great O'Khan came back from excursion in Rev Pro, helped him beat Okada in the G1. And Jeff Cobb is also in the stable. They're calling themselves the Empire.
It's a good name.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Jeff Cobb turned heel and joined it, and yeah, and B Priestley's in it too.
Really?
Yeah, she doesn't wrestle in New Japan, obviously, but she is currently the Stardom Women's Heavyweight the Stardom Women's their top champion. I don't know how you would say. I don't remember what they call it, but she's Stardom's top champion right now, and she's also Will Ospreay's girlfriend.
Yep.
Yeah, she comes out and acts like a manager / valet, kind of, interfering in the matches and stuff. So it's an interesting dynamic that's going on right now with them. And I don't know if you know this or not, but Stardom was bought out by New Japan's parent company, Bushiroad. So they're both under the same umbrella now.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't been keeping up on the dirt sheets too much lately either. I've been just watching so much gun stuff. Yeah, like I said, I haven't even kept up on the dirt sheets because even when I stopped watching, because like I said, I turned off cable, I would at least still watch What Culture and Steven Larson and all that good stuff.
Yeah, the
To
only
stay
thing
up on the news, but I haven't been doing that in the last few months even.
the only one I watch on What Culture's Simon Miller. The others all annoy the hell out of me.
I like Simon; he's entertaining.
Yeah, him and his ups and downs, and whenever he does the "Why did this happen? Here's why," slaps his head.
Slap, slap, slap.
Yeah, he's a funny guy. He's a wrestler himself.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's actually a wrestler. He's actually in really good shape.
Oh, you can tell when he's wearing a t-shirt. You can tell. I mean, his arms are huge.
I'd like to see him do a super kick just to see if he slaps himself in the forehead when he does it, or if he decides to slap his leg still.
Yeah. What sucks is the federation that he was wrestling for, which used to be What Culture Wrestling, went out of business, and he hasn't been able to get signed on with anybody else since then.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's probably a bit of a reason for that.
Well, one of the reasons is COVID.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't help.
Yeah. Like Rev Pro, I think, is pretty much shut down right now. And Ospreay's got the Rev Pro Heavyweight Championship, and he's not left Japan. He's been in Japan since the G1. I want to say right before the G1. So And again, he hasn't left Japan. He's over there with that belt. Oh Christ, that reminds me. That's another one that could be involved in all this. Because they have a working relationship with New Japan is Rev Pro. So you would have an organization of some form or another, if all this is going to happen, stretching from Japan to Mexico to the United States to England. That is definitely going to be a threat to the WWE.
Yeah, that's what I was asking earlier, right before Kingpin jumped, if WWE's made any mention to this, which I'm sure they're just going to downplay it, like, oh, we're not worried about it. We're the only company you need to worry about, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, but I'm sure, there's leaks on the dirt sheet somewhere where they're like, yeah, we're not happy about this.
Yeah. Raw and SmackDown are still outdrawing AEW when you look at all the age demographics. But when it comes to the younger demographics, like 35 and younger, AEW has beaten Raw and SmackDown some weeks in that demographic. That's not a good sign if you're at WWE. That means your fans are getting older and the younger fans are watching competition.
Yep. Which is never good. But you also got to wait and see, how is that going to play out in the coming years? Is that going to sway? Is it because, psychology with wrestling and whatnot, where as these fans become more mature, they stop liking AEW so much, go with WWE.
Well, do you know when the last time this happened? When that type of phenomenon happened? Right before the Monday Night Wars. You had the real young, like the little kids, and the 35 and older watching WWF.
Yep.
Everybody in the between there was watching WCW. If you go by the demographic title, the way that played out, the way the demographics are playing out, we're looking at another WCW versus WWE potential feud between the going on if they can hold this group together.
Yeah. That's the big thing. I mean, you're talking about a lot of talent, a lot of people leading these organizations. There's a lot of ego that's going to be involved here. And
here's the thing. There's another part of that too. New Japan was working with WCW during that time period. If you remember, the NWO wasn't just in WCW. The NWO was in New Japan.
I never realized that.
Yeah. Chono was the head of NWO Japan.
So I thought NWO had gone into New Japan only after
No.
WCW folded.
No. They were there before that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Tenzan was in it as well. You had Chono and Tenzan were basically the leaders of New Japan, NWO New Japan. Chono was the leader, and then Tenzan was like his lieutenant. Tenzan's still wrestling.
Wow.
Of course, so is Suzuki. I mean, Suzuki was around back then too.
Yeah.
Both those guys are in their 50s.
Say so is what's his face?
Yuji Nagata. He is
Dragon. I can't. His name's the rest of his
Ultimo
name.
Dragon.
Yeah, Ultimo Dragon. Thank you.
Yeah, but he's working in Mexico. He runs a training school in Mexico for
I thought he just had a match in New Japan like last year though. Maybe
no,
it was
that was Dragon Lee.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Now Ultimo Dragon is with CMLL and runs in Mexico, which does have a working relationship with New Japan. There's another one. Good Lord, they could have if this pulls off, they could literally have a truce between AAA and CMLL come out of this. Those are the two top wrestling federations in Mexico, in case you didn't know. So that's crazy.
Is Lucha Underground still running, or do they fold up?
No, they folded.
That's what I thought.
But they were affiliated with AAA and Impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff Cobb was Matanza in that. Ricochet was Prince Puma. Luchasaurus was the one snake guy. He was with that Cobra woman, whatever her name was. And of course, you had Willie Mack in there, and Cage was in there. So yeah, we've already seen Cage versus Jeff Cobb. Just people probably who don't know, don't realize that. Now that I think about it, because I seem to remember Matanza Cueto versus Cage in Lucha Underground, or am I remembering that wrong?
I never paid enough attention to Lucha Underground to say for sure.
Oh, Lucha Underground was good.
That's what I heard, but I never knew how to find it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was on the El Rey network, which wasn't carried by everybody. It was what's his faces? Robert Rodriguez. Robert Rodriguez, the director guy.
So
did the Spy Kids movies and stuff.
So I know New Japan has their own streaming service.
Yeah.
What do you think the likelihood is that all these entities get together and make one giant streaming service where they're doing weekly shows, pay-per-views, the whole 9 yards?
Well, they already do use the same pay-per-view network. They use Fight TV for their pay-per-views. If you don't have New Japan, for AEW and Impact, they use Fight TV.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is, with the resources that they have now, they could just go and do their own.
Oh, yeah, they could easily put it on New Japan World. That's competitive with what WWE Network is. Which, by the way, I don't know if you know this or not, WWE Network is going to be going away in the United States, and all that content is going to be on Peacock.
Really?
Yep. Right before WrestleMania.
Why are they doing that? I'm guessing, it's got to be money, obviously.
Yeah. NBC Universal offered him a shit ton of money. So, and Vince ain't one to turn away a pile of money, you know what I mean? Yeah, apparently NBC is going to pay, NBC Universal, Comcast, that whole thing. They're going to pay Vince as much money as what Fox has paid for SmackDown for the WWE Network content to be on Peacock.
That was like $1 billion.
Yeah, multi-billion-dollar multi-year contract.
Yeah.
Yeah. And remember, Raw and NXT are already on a NBC Universal channel on USA.
See, this is why I'm not too worried when they start talking about ratings and stuff, because if ratings mattered anymore, there's no way Fox would have paid what they did for SmackDown. NBC would not be paying for what they're about to fork out for the WWE Network.
Well, WWE Network, you got to remember, it's not just their pay-per-views and new programming. They have a
It's everything.
backlog
Yeah.
going back to the 80s with WCW. They even have NWA programming on there.
Yep.
And some Impact programming.
Yeah, I remember they had bought in some of the tape library from Impact as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even still, like, I realize what you're saying, but my point to it all is, if WWE was doing as bad as everybody wants to say they are because of ratings, then these major companies would not be investing that kind of money. They know that company's still very strong and profitable.
Oh, yeah. They had one of their most profitable years ever during COVID last year. I mean, just from merchandise sales and whatnot.
Well, I think part of it is when you figure, I heard Seth Rollins had said the one time that they're putting on something like 500 shows a year, which I'm like, that's absolutely insane. But you figure with all the traveling that they're doing for 500 shows a year,
well, you gotta remember,
and they cut out all of that.
Those 500 shows are split up because remember, right before COVID, Raw had its own touring schedule, SmackDown had its own touring schedule, and NXT was starting to do their own touring schedule.
Exactly.
That's 3 different brands doing their own tours. So that 500, you break that down by 3, that's nowhere near as much as what they used to do.
But it's still a fact
as an individual,
that it's 500 events that they're putting on. That's a lot of travel for the company itself. That's a lot of loading up trucks, rings, the whole 9 yards, stage, everything. And moving that all over the country. Like when I drove truck, I can't tell you how many times I would see WWE semis, sitting at, the pilot getting fuel or passing me on the interstate. And like I would try and take pictures of them for my kids because they'd always get a kick out of it. Like, oh my God, you saw that truck? I'm like, yeah. But that's a ton of money that they saved this year by just having everything in Orlando.
Mm-hmm. Well, now they're in Tampa. No,
that's what I was about to say. Is I think they're in Tampa now, but I wasn't sure if they made that switch yet.
Yeah, they're in Tropicana Field now.
So, but yeah, either way, you factor in all those trucks moving 300 some days a year, really, and just cutting out the fuel costs.
They're in Tampa Bay. They're not in Tampa. They're in Tampa Bay because I believe Tropicana Field is actually in Petersburg.
It might be
St. Petersburg, rather. We got a Petersburg here.
It's all
St. Petersburg,
same area.
Yeah, but I believe Tropicana Field is actually in St. Petersburg, from what they were saying during the Royal Rumble, which saw Christian make his return to active competition after being out for how many years now because of his concussion issues.
Yep.
Yeah, Gary says, Tropicana Field is in St. Petersburg. Alrighty. That's what I thought.
But they still promote it as Tampa, don't they?
Well, Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Because that's the body of water right there. Is Tampa Bay, so it's all the same damn thing. It's like why do we differentiate Oakland from San Francisco? They're right across the bay from each other. Anyway,
Yep.
where were we? Oh, we're talking about the Royal Rumble. Or at least I was. Yeah. Christian made his return. Edge came back from injury after making his return in last year's Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Which is
He's in
freaking
the-
awesome.
Yeah. He's in the ring. I told the story earlier, but we've had people come in since then, and you weren't here earlier. So I don't know if much you heard or didn't hear before you got here. But Edge is in the ring. Christian's music starts playing. Edge just stops and looks up at the ramp with a completely and totally shocked look on his face. Christian was not cleared to wrestle in that match until right before he went out from the curtain. Edge had no idea Christian was going to be there for that match. He
That's
thought
awesome.
it was going to be the other guy that was there on standby in case Christian couldn't go. Christian hits the ring, Edge runs over to him and grabs him in a big bear hug and just starts crying. For those of you who don't know, Edge and Christian grew up together. They've been best friends their entire lives. They broke into the business together, and they both ended up having to retire from injuries, and in back-to-back Rumbles, they both overcome those career-ending injuries and make it into the Royal Rumble match. And Edge goes on to win the Rumble this year. So it was a hell of a thing to see. Again, like I said, Kingpin earlier, I got goosebumps when it happened. When I was watching it, I'm getting goosebumps now talking about it. It was one of those kind of moments. You know what I mean? But the emotion was real.
Yep. And that's the one thing you can actually say about WWE in recent years is surprises like that. They've been really good about keeping close to the best.
They sure try to. As long as they don't get some Indian wrestler throwing out the secrets. That happened last year. I forget what it was, but they had something that was going to happen. And some Indian guy who was, not by Indian, I mean actually from India, was in the Performance Center training for NXT, and he let the cat out of the bag about what was going to happen before it happened on Twitter.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, this was back when they were still pre-recording everything, when COVID first broke out.
Yep.
Yeah. And boy, did he get in trouble.
Surprised he even has a job still.
Well, he still does.
So he's got to be a pretty dang good prospect at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, they just did a show last week that was highlighting some of the people that they have from India. Because it was India's Independence Day, basically. I can't remember what they call it over there. Freedom Day or something.
So they
did a show highlighting those guys against American talents and stuff, and they showed it over there. And he was on that card, so. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say, I'm trying to think of some of the more recent surprises in recent years. I was thinking AJ Styles, I think they had hit Jericho for a surprise entry recently. I mean, obviously not in the last couple of years because he's been with AEW, but shortly before that.
You might be you know what you might be thinking of? All Out. Or All In, rather. All In, the first.
No.
Remember, they snuck Jericho into that.
Yeah. But I thought it was Jericho. I could be wrong. Because I think it was the Rumble, and he wasn't supposed to be there.
Edge.
And they said
Edge last year, maybe?
No, they said he sat on a bus for like 14 hours. And like he had no contact with the outside world. Like it was complete secret. But it might not have been Jericho. It could have been somebody else. But if it was, I just can't think of who it was. Like I said, this was several years ago. It might have been Jericho before him and Owens had the best friends run.
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe you're thinking Jericho at All In. 'Cause that's what this. No, because Jericho was running late and he had to. He's like in disguise, getting cab to get from Chicago's airport to the Sears Center.
Yeah, for All In, what didn't he have a concert that night or something? And so he had to get from the concert to
Yeah, he had a concert in I think it was Kansas City,
something like that.
and he had to
And,
get
like-
from there to Chicago in time for him to be there to fake being Pentagon at the end of the match and attack Omega, which set up their match at Wrestle Kingdom that year,
Yeah,
which would be Omega's final match in a New Japan ring.
that first match with Omega and Jericho was incredible.
Well, Jericho had some good matches in
All
New
the-
Japan
all
with,
the lead up.
with a few people, yeah. Him and
But-
Naito, him and
Yep.
Tanahashi.
But then, I mean, all the lead up to that match too was just done so perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, remember the one at Wrestle Kingdom? That was a good match, and that was the second of the matches between the two of them.
Yeah,
That one didn't have a title on line. The first one did.
and I think Jericho has to be the king of reinventing himself.
Oh, yeah. There's
So
doubt
good.
about that. He's done it how many times now?
Yeah, like
The man finds a way to stay relevant.
when you hear about the best ever, you hear Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels. I think Jericho's got to be in that conversation.
Oh, he definitely does. And Jericho is not just a multi-time Intercontinental Champion in two different federations, I might add, because he's
Yep.
held the IWGP Intercontinental title too. He's a multi-time World Champion in two federations. And came close to holding it in the third. Now, would you say Red Shoes is the king of referee bumps?
Probably.
That man, he takes some crazy bumps for unofficial.
Yeah. 'Cause, like I was running through some referees there, and like I was thinking of Hebner, but Hebner would just always do that. Oh, I got bumped and now I passed out type fall, and I was like, he always sucked. But yeah, Red Shoes does some gnarly shit.
Yeah. Oh, you should have seen the bump he took recently when El Phantasmo super kicked him. he did a flip. You know, the guys take the clothesline and they'll do the flip in the air. Red Shoes
Yeah.
did that from a super kick.
Holy shit.
Yeah, Red Shoes has got to be the king of the official bump. And for those of you who don't know who Red Shoes is, he's New Japan's top official. And he takes some crazy ass bumps in matches, especially if they're no disqualification matches. I mean, I felt sorry for Red Shoes during both Omega Jericho matches because he got the shit kicked out of him in both of those.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the best part about the super kick is Red Shoes wasn't the assigned official for that match. The official was Kenta Asada, and he got taken out of the match by a super kick. So the next guy came out, Marty Asami comes out. he gets taken out by a super kick. So that, oh no, wait, no, I take that back. Red Shoes came out, then Marty came out. It's like 2 referees got taken out by super kicks in that match. New Japan only has 3. That was some craziness there.
What's your all-time favorite special guest referee?
God, I don't know. Honestly, I have no clue. There's been so many, it's hard to keep. I think everybody at some point's been a special referee.
Yep. And like, I think when you think about that one, you got to take the match into consideration too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because like if you just say, you know, favorite special guest referee of all time, most people are just, if they don't take the match into consideration, it'd probably be like, you know, Steve Austin, probably.
I was going to say Shawn Michaels, but
well, I was just going to say like based on popularity, but Shawn Michaels would be a good one too. Which actually, him with the Undertaker and Triple H, that was an incredible match. And the story that was told with that, and Michaels actually having to count the 3, and oh my, that was an incredible storyline.
Shawn Michaels always did a fairly decent job when he was doing the special referee spot in a match. So if I was going to pick somebody, yeah, I would probably say him. I mean, the special referee match spot in a match is always there to give somebody an unfair advantage. Let's be honest. That never didn't happen, you know? You know what I mean? But Michaels was always the best at that, in my opinion. Now, MKJO asks if we've heard of SWE Fury. He says Teddy Long is there. No, I don't think I've heard of that one.
I've heard a mentioning of it, but I haven't caught anything from it. I mean, literally, I heard it being mentioned like once or twice, and the only reason I remember that is because he mentioned Teddy Long just now.
Yeah, there's a bunch of those little independents that are all over the place that most people haven't heard of, unless they're from that area. Like that's Private Party. I think they came out of one of those little places up in the New York area, if I remember right. That's where because before Dynamite debuted, they had the Bucks go up, you know, on being the Elite. The Bucks were going around recruiting people at all these little independent places around the country. And I believe it was a New York show where they went and they offered Private Party a contract after they had wrestled them at this independent show up in New York.
Yeah.
He was a referee at the Over the Edge 1999 pay-per-view during the match after Owen Hart's tragic death, a mixed tag match from Jeff Jarrett, Deborah, and Val Venus, Nicole Bass. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that Teddy Long started his career in professional wrestling as a referee. He was referee for the NWA back in the 80s. Then he got into managing, and then he went back to being a referee again.
I already had a kind of a rough time back in the NWA back then, just with some racial shit that was happening.
It's possible.
There's a shoot interview I was watching with him, and he touched on it briefly.
Yeah, there's still people that the rumors going around that Dick Murdoch was a card carrying member of the KKK, so it's entirely possible. Yeah, he said Long was also the referee when Darren Drozdoff ended up paralyzed.
Oh shit, was he really?
That's what he said. I remember when Darren Drozdoff was drafted into the NFL by the Denver Broncos. The reason why I remember, he puked on the ball because he was the center for Denver in a preseason game, and he puked on the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just stuck out in my head, and then next thing you know, he's no longer in that, and he's wrestling on WWF. So that just I wonder why he's wrestling and not playing football. Don't listen, boys and girls. Do not puke on the football, especially if you're snapping at the John Elway. He might not be happy about it.
Was it D'Lo Brown that did the pile driver that paralyzed him?
Yeah, it may have been. Which is yet another reason why we were talking about earlier. Another reason why the jumping pile driver has been banned by the WWF / WWE. That the incident with Owen Hart doing it the Stone Cold and almost paralyzing him, and eventually being what led to Stone Cold's retirement from the ring.
Yep.
And according to Austin, we talked about this earlier too, Owen Hart never apologized or checked on him while he was out.
Yeah, I've heard that one too. But at the same, like, I understand a lot of people will be like, "Oh yeah, I'd call and make sure." But at the same time, when you come from a wrestling family like that, and
now there's a tradition in wrestling that if you hurt a guy in a ring, you apologize and you check on him.
yeah,
And apparently Owen Hart did none of those. Did none of that. And Austin is still pissed off about it. That's some speculation as to why people think Owen Hart will never make it into the WWE Hall of Fame, and it's not just his wife. Because apparently Owen Hart was not as loved by some people backstage as what they want you to think he was. Not to say that he didn't have friends backstage, but there were also people that didn't like the guy.
well, that'd be interesting because I've never heard any of that. I've always heard about all the jokes that he would pull and stuff like that, which I'm sure. I mean, when you're pulling practical jokes on everybody, you're gonna rub people the wrong way. I know this firsthand because in my everyday life, I'm constantly pulling jokes on people, and every once in a while, somebody doesn't know how to laugh at themselves, and it rubs people the wrong way. Sometimes it happens.
Mm-hmm.
So I could definitely understand if that's the reason.
Yeah, there's not very many wrestlers that you're not going to find somebody that has something bad to say about the guy, which is what made Brody Lee's death all that more tragic because nobody had a bad word to say about him. Ever.
Oh yeah, it was incredible. The stories you started hearing, like holy cow.
Yeah, that was just a good dude from all accounts right there. The shame he died when at the age he did, and how. I mean, he was out with an ankle injury, contracted a lung infection, not COVID related in any way, and a month later he was gone.
Yep.
And left behind a couple of young children, and yeah, it's just a sad story. Yeah, DJ out there, barbecue and I wrestled in school. Injury from either meant we Held our breath, and the okay was given. Apologies and handshakes for sure. No one really wants another competitor to get hurt. No, absolutely not. It was the same on the football field, man. If somebody got hurt, everybody held their breath until until we knew they were okay. It didn't matter which team you were on. At that point, everybody was on the same team, hoping and praying that whoever was hurt wasn't seriously injured.
I told you about that time I gave a kid a compound fracture, right?
I don't know if you did or not.
Oh. We were playing against Franklin, and this is one of those games where, I mean, I was just on. I actually had referees coming up to me saying, "Man, you're flying all over the field tonight." I'm like, "Thanks." And I ended up getting washed down on a double team, which is actually pretty rare. I was usually pretty good about fighting back double teams, and they washed me down on this one. And our linebacker come up, met the running back at the line, and had him stood up. And I beat the double team, and I come flying back across, and I just crushed the guy. And as I'm getting up, I hear, "Oh, my arm." I didn't think anything of it. So I was never one to celebrate or anything. I would just do my job. I'm there to make plays, get back in the huddle, get the next play, and we're going back at it. So I don't look down. I'm focused on next play already. And next thing I know, we're sitting on the sidelines for 20 minutes. And I'm like, crap. And I've got teammates coming up to me. They're like, "Burger, that's freaking disgusting." I'm like, "What?" They're like, "The bone's sticking out of the skin." And it's like, son of a...
Yeah. The ironic thing is that a compound fracture is easier to set than an incomplete fracture.
Yep.
So the kid was actually in better shape having the bone stick out, which is the crazy way to think about it. But yeah,
I actually got to talk to the kid one time. It was a couple years later. Just ironically, I ended up being asked to go on a double date. And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And so this kid's there with the girl that asked me to tag along for a female friend. And I was like, "This is the guy you're dating?" And she's like, "Yeah, why?" I was like, "Oh, see that giant scar on his arm? I'm pretty sure I did that." He's like, "You play for Meadville?" I was like, "Yup." He's like, supposedly, from what he told me, he was being scouted by D1 schools, and after his compound fracture and everything, it just screwed up everything for him, which I was like, well, it's possible, but I don't see how a broken arm...
Yeah, I don't see a broken arm. It's
Like,
not
I can
like he
understand
blew out
or
his knee or something,
Exactly. So I was like, I feel like this is a bit of a tall tale, but
Yeah, 'cause I personally knew people that broke their arm or their leg, and it didn't hurt their recruitment when it came to a Division I school.
yeah. Like I could, like for me, when I had my shoulder tear, which actually that was the same season that I did that, was the season that I tore my shoulder. But my strength in that shoulder, and so it was never the same after that. But when you're just talking about a forearm, you're not messing with too much strength there. I mean, yeah, there's some forearm strength, but when you're a running back or a receiver,
Yeah, it's just that I don't buy that, because when I I told you how I separated my shoulder.
yeah,
I did it in grand fashion. I got hit by a future NFL Hall of Famer and popped my shoulder out. But yeah, that didn't hurt when Notre Dame came around wanting to talk and stuff. So I don't know. I mean, that's the worse injury than a broken forearm when it comes to that kind of stuff.
I don't think my shoulder would have been an issue if we would have got it diagnosed properly and taken care of in a timely manner. But because I ended up going 6 months after the season ended, before they said, okay, that shouldn't be like that anymore, because they thought it was just a bruised AC joint, which you're just talking about a bruised bone. That's going to hurt. Little did we know that anything was torn. So, like I said, I played literally the entire season like that because it happened the second day of camp. So then we're talking end of May before I had surgery, when I should have been, like, I probably could have, obviously I could have played the entire season. And then first week in November, should have been getting cut open, going through rehab, and then I would have been able to lift and everything all summer and get the strength built back up. But because it didn't have the surgery until May, it really screwed everything up.
Yeah, I was lucky. I didn't need surgery. I didn't tear anything. Mine was a pop out, pop right back in again.
Yeah, see, that's what they speculate happened with mine. Is it popped out, and when I bounced off the ball, because I got enough air up under me, they think when I came back down, I actually relocated my shoulder, but it chipped off a piece of bone, which they didn't even realize had happened until the surgeon had gotten in there to repair the labrum that was torn. And when he was digging around and whatnot, they found a piece of bone with a bunch of calcium buildup around it.
Yeah, mine was the crown of a helmet making contact with my shoulder, pushing my shoulder backwards out, and then it just popped right back in again.
Ugh.
Hurt like hell. Didn't
Yep.
tear anything. And unlike these modern NFL players who hurt their shoulders, I didn't lay on the field crying like a baby. I ran off the field and got out of the way.
Yeah.
Ran over to the trainer, like, I think I did something to my shoulder. He's like, how do you know? Because it hurts like hell. And he's like, okay, let's take you back into the locker room. And I took, got my pads and jersey off, and my shoulder was already starting to bruise. He's like, yep, I think you dislocated it. Yeah, let's get you over to let's get the medics and get you over to the hospital and get some x-rays and yada, yada, yada. Thankfully, everything structurally was okay. It just needed to heal for a couple weeks after that. But people don't realize when your shoulder pops out, you might not tear anything, but you're still stretching those muscles out of shape. So it takes a couple weeks for them to contract back where they're supposed to be.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, the best part is I was told by the doctor if I didn't weigh as much as what I did, if I was more of a 190, 200 pound guy, I probably would have tore something in my shoulder when that happened. He said the bruising was that bad. The bruising was deep into the muscle and everything. He's like, the only thing that saved you was that muscle mass.
Yeah, see, and when I did mine, I didn't have any bruising that you could physically see. I'm sure I had plenty of bruising internally, but subdermally or whatnot, you couldn't see anything. There was no discoloration, nothing. Which is another reason they thought that it was just the bruised AC joint.
No, when I took my jersey and pads off, my shoulder was starting to turn black in the area where his head had made contact.
Damn.
By the time I got to the hospital, it had that, that greenish tint was up over my shoulder. It bruised bad. He hit me right in the pectoral muscle and popped my shoulder right backwards. And it just bruised. My whole right pec was bruised. And that did not feel good. Tell you what, though, man, those muscle relaxers took the pain away real quick.
Yep.
At least from the muscle, anyway. The shoulder still hurt like hell.
Yeah.
The muscle pain went away. The shoulder pain didn't. Yeah, I think that was the worst bruising I ever had. No, I can't say that either. It's the worst I've seen me have bruising. When I cracked my tailbone, that may have been worse, but I couldn't exactly see that. kind of hard to see if you're on how bad the bruising on your own tailbone is because of the location.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that hurt like a walking around for like 2 weeks like a penguin. You're more waddling than walking. Because if you take a full stride, oh my God, you feel like you're dying. So, is DJ originally from PA too?
No, DJ is from Nebraska.
I know he lives in Nebraska. I didn't know if he was originally from PA. Oh, he's like in the MKJO. Okay. But he did say about you and him wrestling in high school. I didn't know if you like went to the same high school or something, the way he worded it. That's what I was asking.
No, we were just him and I were discussing wrestling and whatnot a few nights ago.
Okay. And MKJ, fast little efforts. Monkey you over. Get him off of me. Yeah, those little guys were fast. The problem for the little guys, I was faster. Says he grew up in Iowa and Nebraska. Okay. Yeah. When you're 220, between 220 and 230, and you run a 4.3, 4.4 40, the little guys ain't getting away from you. To their chagrin. It's quite possible when my shoulder separation happened that it wasn't necessarily his momentum, but mine. Now that I think about it,
Yeah.
the injury is, he's coming through the middle of the defensive line, and I come running up and I put a pop on him, and my shoulder went pop. Today, I probably would have been penalized for an illegal blow to the head. How's that for messed up?
Yep.
Because I've seen that multiple times in the NFL.
Yeah, there's times where they're like, "Oh, it's a legal shot to the head." Well, I'm like, you can only get so low, and when
the guy's putting his head down, when does personal responsibility enter the picture?
Yep. When you're 6'5", going against a running back that's 5'10", maybe 6 foot if he's lucky, and he decides to get low, you're only getting so low when you've already got 6 inches on him.
Mm-hmm. When you're 6 foot, 225 pounds roughly, and you're tackling somebody who's 5'10", it's hard to get lower to the ground than they are.
Yep.
Of course, the wide receivers that were 6'2", 6'3" didn't stand much better chance. Put a pop on some of them too over the course of my high school football career. If you were a quarterback, if you were a wide receiver, you did not want to go across the middle. If I wasn't the one putting a pop on you, one of the linebackers were, and they were just as brutal. We've discussed this before. I played a hybrid safety linebacker position.
Yep.
So, yeah. Okay. Anybody was wondering who the running back that would be a future Hall of Famer to pop my shoulder out? It was a guy you may have heard of. His name is Curtis Martin. I went to Oliver High School. He went to Alderdice High School. We were playing in a game, and pop went my shoulder. I don't think I was quite 220 weight at that point, though. So that would have been my freshman year, I think. I think it was freshman. freshman or sophomore. So at that point, I was only maybe 210, 215. I hadn't got into full size yet, I guess you could say. And I would only have been a damn substitution player at that point, too, now I think about it. The only reason why I was on varsity team, because at that point I was the punter.
No.
I played soccer in middle school, so I had a strong leg. Yeah, 9th and 10th grade, I was the punter and backup safety. 11th and 12th grade, I was varsity, and then that's when I started playing linebacker / safety. But yeah, I was the only one that went out to try and be the punter that year. So guess who got to be the punter? And got the punt on Fridays and Saturdays.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I played varsity and junior varsity. 2 games a week. That was a lot of fun. And then when I was out injured with my shoulder, the kicker got to play punter. He didn't know how to punt to save his life. Yeah. People think that if you can kick, you can punt, and if you can punt, you can kick. They're not the same skill set.
Nope. Let's say it's remarkable that Pat McAfee was able to make the transition like he did.
Well, once you practice it, you can, when you get the idea of it down. But you're not just going to take your kicker and throw him out there to be a punter and have him perform as well as what your punter is going to. It's not what they're trained for. It's not like, you can train a punter to go out there and do a kickoff, but because they can do a kickoff doesn't mean they're going to kick a field goal. Kickoff, you're kicking off of a tee. The field goal, you're kicking off the turf. That's a totally different kick.
Yeah.
And a drop kick, like what happens on a punt, is a totally different kind of kick as well. It's. Now, did they ever change the rule where you could drop kick a field goal if the kicker was hurt?
I think you can still do that.
Yeah, I don't know if they were there was talk about changing that. I don't know if they ever did.
I don't know. I want to say there was an NFL team that did it a few years ago.
Well, I know you get quick kick punts. The quarterback will take the snap from shotgun and quick kick punt it. Roethlisberger's done that a few times.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, what time is it? Oh, hell, it's after 12. Been going for almost 3 hours. Oh, my Lord. Yeah, and MKJO says, yeah, the rules still exist. He said somebody got penalized for an illegal formation, and that's when they started talking about getting rid of that rule. So, yeah, okay. I know they've talked about it. They said, I don't know if they ever actually did or not. Tell you what, it'd probably be easier to drop kick a field goal than it is to place kick one.
Yeah, you'd almost think so.
Haven't been a punter, I would say it is. I tried doing place kicks and I couldn't get the ball off the ground. It was a squib kick every time, and that was trying to kick a field goal at him. That's why I wasn't the kicker. Yeah, if they needed somebody to do a squib kick on the kickoff, White, get out there and kick the ball. Okay, coach. The drop kick, rugby. Yeah, they do drop kicks in rugby. Yeah, and the quick kicks and whatnot. Did you guys have punt, pass, kick growing up? I think they started that right when I was too old to compete in it, if I remember right.
Yeah, they started it when I was a kid, and I never got to compete in it.
I'm trying to remember when they started that. I think I was just a year too old or something when they started it.
I want to say it was like the late 90s.
No, it was before that.
Was it?
Yeah. I was in high school in the late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, he says for him it was the late 70s. Yeah, I think yeah, the NFL, that was all over the NFL, so they might have been, yeah, they may have had it. I just don't remember when I was a kid. It's a possibility. My stepfather really wasn't into football. If I watched football, I had to go over to my grandfather's house when I was a kid. So it might have been before that. In hockey, I was on my own because nobody in my family watched hockey except me. I'll be up in my room with a little transistor radio listening to the Penguins playing. When I was supposed to be sleeping. I have the radio underneath my pillow listening to the hockey game. I would do that with Pirates games too, because some nights Pirate game didn't go up until after midnight.
Yep. Well, heck, I remember there was one game that my parents took my brother and I to. Ended up getting delayed for rain. Then it went into extra innings. By time, I think it ended up being a 14-inning game. The pitcher, I don't remember who the pitcher was at the time, but he ended up hitting a walk-off home run to win the game, and it didn't end until a little after 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
But being there for that game, they were throwing out some fun facts for the whole thing. Just to try and keep people occupied, stuff like that, entertain them a little bit, and found out that I think the longest baseball game ever lasted like 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a long time ago too.
Yeah, because people were like, "Holy cow, this has got to be like a record," because I think that game had started at noon or 2 or something like that.
Yeah,
then went
the reason why the game went so long is because the stadium wasn't lit. That's how long ago that game was. They had to call the game for darkness twice. And yeah, it was like 20 some innings or something. It was crazy. I used to have a book that had all these sports facts in it when I was a kid, and I was one of the ones that was in it. Crazy like sports trivia and stuff.
Yep.
The first professionally organized Major League Baseball game was played in what decade? Do you know?
Professionally organized. I had to say 1900.
No, it was earlier than that.
Was it?
Yep.
Was it the 1880s?
No. MKJO's got it. It was the 1870s.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was that old.
Yeah. Major League Baseball is the oldest professional sport league in the country.
Because my original guess was going to be 1880s, but I thought that seemed a little old. That's why I went with the 1900. But I did not realize it was 1870s.
Yeah. Baseball's been around for a long time.
Yep.
MLB. There were teams in the MLB that aren't even around anymore. The second oldest, I believe, is the NHL and then the NFL. The Stanley Cup was first created for what purpose?
No idea.
I don't know if anybody out there in the YouTube chat knows.
I'd like to say drinking beer.
No. It was first awarded in the 1800s to a youth hockey league champion. The trophy was donated by the Earl of Stanley, if I remember right, and that's where it got its name from, Lord Stanley's Cup. It would be donated to the NHL in the 1920s, if I remember correctly. So it was originally a youth trophy. The only part that is the original on it is the very top part, the bowl itself, and then the first ring of the base underneath the bowl. That is the only part that's original. The rest of that is all added onto it after the NHL got the cup.
Nice.
And some players have had their names inscribed on that trophy inside and outside. Bob Airy told a story about how he took a knife and scratched his name on the inside of the cup. That cup has been in swimming pools, been used as a jello mold, and thrown into the Allegheny River. These guys, when they get their hands on that thing, show that cup absolutely no respect whatsoever. They have to, I'm trying to remember who said that their wife used the cup part, the bowl part, as a jello mold. Can't remember who it was. She was throwing a party and she needed, and he just, her husband, just happened to be his day with the cup, so his wife used it as a jello mold.
Of course, why not?
You got the Stanley Cup there. Why wouldn't you use it for a jello mold? And the bowl part kind of does look like one, even if it is silver. Can you imagine being the poor guy that takes care of that trophy and getting it back after all these players have
Oh
put
yeah.
that thing through the abuse that they put it through? Yeah, Bob Airy also stated he can name at least one player that used it as a bathroom. He's like, why he used it as a bathroom, I don't know. But he wouldn't say who it was. This was one of the specials that aired on Root Sport. Well, I think it was Root still at the time when it was AT&T Sportsnet when they won the cup the last time. anyway, they had one of those specials on there about telling where they had players telling goofy stories about their experiences with the Stanley Cup, and I think Bob Berry won.
Yeah.
He scratched his name into the cup with a knife. He threw the cup into the river after the parade in '92. Told the story about the guy using it as a toilet. Yeah, I think he had the best stories about what things that happened with the cup. No, that's not to say somebody on another team didn't have stories that are just as good, but the ones I heard in that special where they were talking to different Penguins, I think Bob Berry had the best stories. You know what? It was the Muse wife. She's the one that used it as a Jello mold. Now I think, yeah, it was Mario Lemieux's wife. And that was when they won it in 2009. He had the cup at his house as the owner, and his wife used it as a Jello mold.
Wow.
I bet she's not the only one. Like I said,
Probably not.
if you look at it, it looks like you could use that as a Jello mold, or probably use it as a cake pan too. Silver is naturally antibacterial. You probably could use it as a cake mold. I don't think it would get damaged from throwing it in the oven. Maybe it would. I don't know. But you can make yourself a nice looking cake with that thing. Those little bundt cakes or whatever they call them. And drizzle the clear icing over top of it. Anyway, we are going on 12:30. We've been going for almost 3 hours and 10 minutes now. So I think it's time to wrap this up.
Alrighty.
We've had a good discussion. We talked about a multitude of subjects, not just wrestling, but we did get a good bit of wrestling in, and talked about the insanity that's going on right now with could be one of the biggest things to happen to pro wrestling since the fall of the territory era.
Yeah, for sure.
You got anything you want to plug or throw out there real quick?
No, nothing that I can really think of. Appreciate the invite.
Yeah, no problem. And for those of you who don't know, around 3 p.m. on Saturdays, there is a show over on Rick's Life as Rick's Life as I See It. Rick's a good guy. He should really have more subscribers than what he does. So if you guys are already subscribed, pass the word about Rick's show. Get more people over there watching that old guy. He's a good dude. Watch his show. Check it. Pass it around. Let's get this guy some more subs. The fact that I have more subs than him is just wrong. Oh, you want so? Okay, hold on. Let me find you a link. Gotta go over to today's show to get the link, and guess whose avatar's on the screen? Yours.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Copy. Click over here. There you go, MKJO. There is the link to Rick's channel. So yeah, guys, go over there, check out old Rick. He's a good dude, and he deserves more subs than what he has. He's a funny guy too. If you really want to get Rick going, talk about mac and cheese, or the fact that a Welsh rabbit is just an open-faced grilled cheese. You want to hear an old guy rant to bring up how great mac and cheese is, or a Welsh rabbit being an open faced grilled cheese, and you'll get him going for what? What would you say? Half hour, 45 minutes?
Yeah, I was gonna say a half hour.
Yeah, I mean, he is funny when he gets ranting about about the Welsh rabbit not being a grilled cheese and macaroni and cheese. Yeah, he is a funny guy. Yeah, you definitely want to check him out. And he does a quiz every 2 weeks now.
I'm not sure. It was weekly, but
Yeah, I know it was
I
weekly.
think
but he said
right
he's doing
now it was just on
bi-weekly.
hiatus because.
Well, no, he did a quiz. He did a question today.
Well, I was gonna say I think it was on hiatus just because he had his surgery.
Yeah,
so I think it's going to be back to being weekly.
Yeah. No, I think he's doing it bi-weekly now. He said the other on Wednesday he was going to be doing it bi-weekly from now on.
We'll see.
Anyway, whether he's doing it weekly or bi-weekly that doesn't matter, because he gives away some really nice prizes, patches, and stickers and stuff. And sometimes you'll get something else in there, like maybe a knife or a pin or pen, or you never know what you're going to get in one of Rick's prize packs. I've won a few of them. One of the hats that's sitting up here over my shoulder. I'm not digging through that, but somewhere in that pile of hats is a hat from Rick that came from one of those. One of those prize packs. So yeah, he gives away good stuff. I mean, I got a bag over here that's got nothing but patches and stickers in it, and a lot of them have come from Rick's trivia questions. So yeah, go over there, check him out. You might win yourself a prize. So yeah, and on that note, we will bid you adieu. I'm not wearing Clover's shirt. I had this shirt before Clover did. Clover copied me. And the worst part is Clover and I have both worn this shirt on the same live stream before. So that just proves it's not Clover's shirt. Clover just turns his camera on more than I do, so you don't realize I have it too. That's all. But yeah. So have a good night, folks, and we will catch you tomorrow night on This Week Unloaded on this same channel. All right, let's stop this on this one up here.